Just in action not too long ago, win a major. Team Liquid has been lapped by almost every single big org in the region. And for Team Liquid fans, I know it's a problem and it's a sore spot. Operator bans are coming in as we get underway with Lair and Jesse. Any expectations?
I think we'll see the double shield ban coming out. They want to counter Ask on the shields. Should be probably the Blackbeard and the Monty. Could be a Blitz, but I would expect the Blackbeard and then Kaid Bandit going to be the expected bans as well. We've seen a little bit of Kaid Clash bans from the attackers so far this stage, but you always see the Kaid getting taken off on Lair. It's such a strong operator for keeping mask walls closed, for keeping some of the hashes closed down inside the basement. It can be really, really important. Keep some of those critical walls still remaining intact for the defenders. So I would say probably the most common operators getting banned from both sides in this game. So no surprises to be had. If you didn't catch the desk, or if you've forgotten what they've said, because it's been a minute at this point, this is the map pick of Team Liquid. It's one of their favorite maps. They are 3-0 this season, dominating Cloud9 back at Reload, having a close game over FaZe, and then dominating Loud to the stage as well. So they've had some big games here on Lair so far this season. For NIP, they're 1-0 this season. They beat Black Dragons last week, and that was a 7-0 game, but it was against Black Dragons. Team Liquid, you got to imagine, will be putting up a bit more of a fight. So that 7-0 scoreline that NIP got previously, unlikely to be repeated against Team Liquid.
For those that are unfamiliar with a map like Lair, it's a pretty big map. Very, very big, actually. The biggest map in the entire map pool. Which means your main obstacle as attackers, gain information and figure out where these roamers are. There's 4 stairwells on this map, I believe. You count me on that. Fact check me on it very quickly. Which allows flanking, irrespective of the actual amount of staircases, it allows flanking to be a little bit easier. And if teams do not bring a dedicated anti-flank watch operator, which there's a number of them on the board, none of which are technically in this stable right now of Team Liquid's roster, can make watching your back a little bit difficult, especially if you have to use most of those drones in the discovery phase, which is where we are at the moment. Team Liquid attacking with 1 minute already done in round number 1.
So for this top floor, typically what you want to see from a team on an attack is they're either going to go for operations, then try to get in through the mask wall, or they're going to be focused over towards green instead and trying to make their way in through storage. If they do go ops, that'll be Cons, who's the first line of defense on this clash, and it does seem like this is the way they want to go. Haven't committed to either too hard, but with a lot of pressure down towards the bottom lobby, it really does feel like this is where they're going to be. They've got resets down below on that Deimos, whose goal is going to be to work some picks from the bottom floor. Ideally, that'll be onto Cons as well. If he can get a track onto the clash, that would be absolutely huge. Also has the mute and the smoke currently scanned on his Deimos tracker. So a couple options, and he will opt for the smoke to start, who's playing those server stairs.
Wizard goes for a quick swing, and down goes Ask, whose bullet tracers had given his position away seconds before. Ness looking for a potential follow-up on a separate window now, as the defenders are having their day. Wizard's been dropped, but 2 players from Team Liquid are no more. Wizard might not even need to be secured, as there's a jump on in. Nesk taking care of Wizard, the first kill for his team, but it's all up to Diaz now as a pair of kills come out on the side of Nip, leaving Liquid in a pretty terrible spot. The import, Diaz, with diffuser in hand, baits out the Azami of Fantasy, still dealing with the clash, getting slowed down, and another player will now assume the position. Hard to tell if that's Pino or Hates. Looks like it's Pino standing in this position, and it is. He gets him with the shotgun blast, and round 1 goes to Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Big 3K coming out from the 24-year-old veteran on NIP. Pino had a really great round, and of course that started off with the battle against resets on the Deimos. I really expected when I saw the Deimos below that his goal was going to be to kill the clash, to get that initial operator off the board so they go for an operations push. Instead, he hunts down the smoke, who's playing on the lobby stairs, and that's an important position, right? If you've got 2 players below, you want to be walking up lobby, you need to clear with that smoke somehow, but you end up Deimos tracking him, which means the smoke has the pings on you, just like you have pings on him. You walk around a really tight corner, even with full information. I'm taking the shotgun in that gunfight 9 times out of 10. We saw a very similar situation at the start of our last series, Parker, Consulate top floor. Volps had the SAS shotgun playing a really tight corner, was being demo tracked, and guess who won that one? It was Volps. So similar situation now with Pino. Yeah, sure, he gets tracked by the death mark, but in that close range engagement, when they know when you're going to be swinging them, it's really hard to bet on the Demos for that swing. So I wish they had a bit of a better answer to clearing out the lobby stairs. Not the greatest first round from Team Liquid, but credit to Pino for stepping up as he did. They'll have to retreat back to that bomb site in round 4 when we get to it after it unlocks again.
What was he doing there? I don't know if you saw that. Anyway, different tools being brought by both teams now as you'll go line up for Nip. Operators that are very much in the meta for the defenders are the operators that slow you down. Zombie obviously is one of them. She's not being brought though, so what do? You bring Banshees. They'll be brought by Wizard. You've got the Goyo canisters on the side of Hates. Of course, Castle Barricades were the original thing designed to slow you down other than barbed wire.
It's kind of interesting on this attacking lineup from Team Liquid. They've got really a new setup. Once again, they've played this map a ton throughout the season, 3 times, but I don't believe they've ever brought this direct attacking lineup with Nesk on the Ying. They've got the Ram from Maya as well. Might just be because they're not playing against a roam game. This is a full 5-man anchor coming out from NIP, so they're not so concerned about clearing out the roamers. Instead, they knew this top floor would be free, so they can bring a bit more execute-focused ops. We'll start to take control of security now, start to open up some of those hatches, and a great Twitch drone in the site as well coming out from Resets, who can start dealing with those Goyo canisters inside the bomb site. Should make for a really strong execute from Team Liquid. I gotta wonder if NIP will be looking to get a kill early, but based on their current positioning, it feels like they don't really have the opportunity to. They just need to hunker down and try to win their fights.
Down goes Nesk to Wizard. Silent bullets being fired out.
Bomb located by attackers.
That's a rough loss. Losing your Candelas and losing Nesk, who was one of the few players that showed a pulse back in round number 1. So a good start for Nip with still a minute to go. Reset's also taking quite a bit of damage. One Toxic Babe in pocket for Cons. It will kill Resets if he gets too close to huff any of that gas. He has again holding diffuser as the Candelas go off, or as the Selmas go off. There you can hear the gunfire now being exchanged between both teams. 30 seconds remain for Team Liquid. As there goes the Castle Barricade, Nitro Cell goes out. Pino missed an opportunity and now taking some damage, and I think that's his feet being shot away at. He's on a single point of HP, holding this tight corner. The Deimos is there. Hates will die, the only one on Nip in the ground at the moment. But 10 seconds means Nip is running out of runway. Maya on the board, traded back. Deimos finished off. Maya doing some serious damage as Aska's in the ground. And Maya will win it for his team. Fantastic stuff as Liquid picks up a round.
Huge 4K coming through from Maya. Massive round as everybody on NIP just crumbles in those dying seconds. Yeah, they didn't really want to get aggressive and swing. They were happy to let Team Liquid take the space that they had inside a filter. It was 2 filter, 1 on the office hatch, and then of course 1 pushing in through stock, which got that initial kind of engagement in onto Pino that was trying to play that close angle. Maya was the hatch player and was able to do so much from the vertical, both killing Hates to start things off and then finding that next kill into Pino and then doubling down with 2 more kills late round. It felt like his vertical pressure was really impactful in that round. Cons ended up wasting a lot of those Toxic Babes quite early inside of filter stairs, and since he didn't really have a lot of Toxic Babes for the late round, Pino then, the only other bit of hard plant denial, I should say, with that Nitro Cell, ended up tossing it out of the stock door, so that couldn't do anything to stop the plant. The Goyos were, of course, cleared out early. Hates also died that round with a bulletproof camera in his pocket. They brought 3 BPs in that round, so I'm not sure there was one that would have necessarily changed the outcome, but still odd to see some of that util not being placed down. Maybe a bit of nerves early on from the ninjas.
Now you see me, now you won't.
Speaking of ninjas, listen to these silent steps.
Loading new mag.
We're making any sounds whatsoever as they were running. They got their master tier perk on.
They're sneaky guys on Team Liquid.
Yeah. Long run up to a very large map as
Changing mags.
you can hear the defender's perspective, but not the attackers at the moment. Now vice versa as they swapped out. Oh. Double shield ban from the side of Nip will restrain this Team Liquid squad and keep them onto the Blackbeard. And if Blackbeard gets banned out, I imagine we will see a fuse shield come in. As a lot of teams do run that, though. I think we saw in the previous matchup, there wasn't a lot of value out of a fuse, especially on a map like this. I mean, cluster chargers have their day in the sun, but not here. Early advance is slowed down by those toxic babes. Clearing out the top floor will be the main focus for Liquid.
You know, still 2 more toxic babes to try to slow this. Resets needs to be really careful, but when he chooses to engage, nobody's flanking him Skybridge, so that's not really a big concern, but Hates and Pino both inside of storage is going to be the real big problem for them. They have control of bottom green, so they could go for a site execute, but with so much vertical denial in NIP, it would almost certainly get denied from up above.
Great pick on the Fantasy, though. If you're going to take somebody down early, it should be an Azami. Out goes a toxic babe as you see the smoke of Pino trying to hold on for dear life. Nip coming to life themselves on the kill feed. Hates falling at the hands of Nazca's Team Liquid will answer right back with a burst of kills on their own. Nip reduced to just Wizard. The player who died early in round number 1 will now circle above, watching those kill holes, aiming to find one of the 2 remaining players from Team Liquid as Nesk holds on to the case. A bit of an abnormal spot for Nesk to be in. He's not a support player traditionally, but sometimes the job needs to be done. He'll rely on Ask to watch over top of him. Fuse plant going down, and Wizard now just trying to bide time. He's getting some pings inside the site. Couldn't have said it better myself. Team Liquid wins the round.
Huge play by Nesk. He got damaged by that first shotgun shot and then pulled off the fuse kit so that he could go for the plant. Quite slow from Liquid. Obviously, that top floor clear didn't go as quickly as they would have liked, but eventually was able to make sure that they had enough kills up above. Then it was really scary in that 1v2. I really thought Wizard was going to be able to walk away with the victory, especially because they had pings inside the bomb site. I'm not 100% sure where that info was coming from. It must have been a Valkyrie camera that had been set up. I believe it was one of those Valk cams just inside the site that Team Liquid never found. So that was a really dangerous spot. Ultimately, though, they didn't manage to find that frag, and so it was going to be Team Liquid that got that final pick up above to take down Wizard and come away with the win. I think you really did see the patience shining through with how much respect they gave to those players inside of storage, with how careful they were in around the green hall. They knew that that was a very powerful position, and it wasn't clean. They had to lose a couple of bodies, right? Resets did die on the Blackbeard. Maya went down quite early from outside the building, but in the end, they got the job done. They didn't panic even when they were in a 4v3 disadvantage, and they still came out on top.
Well, if there's anybody who's going to lead the way for Nip, it needs to be Fantasy, and it needs to be Hates at the top of the scoreboard. Maybe not Hates with the roles that he's currently playing, as I imagine we'll see more of him play on that sheltered style that Miras tend to thrive in. Not really a roaming operator, and one with gadgetry and a kit that excels in the final moments of a round, especially using those black mirrors as coverage for where the execute is going to come. Hates has not put down the second black mirror yet. Oh, there he goes. I was wondering before we saw him in action if he was going to keep that in his pocket. One thing that some mirrors do is they'll hang on to their second black mirror and place it when they know where those attackers are assembling. It's a risky gamble, because if it doesn't pay off and you die with one piece of utility still in your pocket.
Definitely can be impactful, though. I mean, as you said, we see that a lot, like top floor bank, where they'll hold the second mirror for quite a long time, but not in this one. Push from Team Liquid looking similar, with a lot of focus over towards bathroom. They've got players still bottom lobby as well. They can try to make an impact, and then operations will be the brunt of this push. This is Nesk who got, I believe, the one and only pick round 1 on this bomb site, as he got a frag through the bathroom window, but only a trade back on one of his teammates. It was really this Mez stairs position that Fantasy is now playing that was the biggest problem for them, but now Pino has kind of moved his positioning, so it's a really interesting change up by NIP. I imagine Ask is going to start making some chaos the second he jumps through this bathroom window, and then it'll really be up to NIP to see how they respond to a Blackbeard spiraling through their sight.
He can hold on to that nade as long as he wants. There's no cook mechanic anymore. Nade explosion will take down what remained of that Kiba barrier. Fantasy punishing Nask. Fantasy finding a second onto Maya. And a very swift rebuke of this entry from Team Liquid. They jump in. Nip throws them right back out. And now an engagement that might favor Wizard. He'll lose some of his coverage through the wall, firing back. Diaz on the board. Resets drops to Cons, and Nip continue to maintain their advantage. Wizard now taking some damage as he hits the deck. Ask and Diaz breathing down the necks of these remaining Nip players, but Wizard takes an opportunity to punish Ask as that Blackbeard shield comes down. And Diaz will need to clutch up. 4 kills is an impressive tally, but he can't find either of the remaining players from Nip. He's out-dueled, and a tie game is what we have in front of us.
Nice try by Liquid. They actually adapted really well, I thought, to that Mez position. Instead of swinging with the Deimos pistol, this time Resets moved to the shotgun, which, of course, has that close range advantage and was able to win that early gunfight to be able to get some space and take that control over towards Mez. Unfortunately, it just felt like Fantasy had done too much damage before that came through. It was doing really good work on that Azami, both to slow them down as they tried to push in through bathroom, and then also just to acquire so many of those big picks. That really was the difference maker, as he got some big trades, eventually was cleared out by Diaz, but thought Fantasy was a huge player on the Azami in that previous round. You kind of look at that Clash ban from Team Liquid, and at least in my opinion, you're scratching your head a little bit. It was only used on that top floor and back in round number 1, and I didn't think it was particularly effective. I mean, it didn't really have a huge impact in my opinion. They banned it out for top. They still ended up losing that bomb site. Now that ban is not really going to affect the next 2 rounds on lab support or on Bunk's briefing, but NIP walked away with wins on those sites anyways, so maybe they shouldn't be too concerned about it. Even still, that Clash ban is going to be something that won't really have a huge impact in these next couple of rounds.
Hates is looking for an avenue now. This could be a Nitro cell, tossed up and ready. No. Just a very brief run out, looking for a pick again. Most maps, when they've been reworked, or even if they haven't been reworked, they've just been touched up a little bit. Part of the design from the UB devs is to make it so that it's a lot more challenging for defenders to kill you before you get to the building. Frankly, I know some of the community might be offside of this, but I think it's a terrific change. There is nothing worse than loading into a game and dying in the first 10 seconds because you got spawn peeked. Yes, it is a viable strategy. No, I do not think it is a good strategy. I'm glad the maps are getting made up to change it. And now here on a big map like Lair, there's ways for you to get to the map without taking damage, but it's a long run there. Nip was hoping to catch Team Liquid off guard.
Pretty heavy roam commitment that has mostly fallen back now from NIP. It's just Hates that remains on that top floor. You saw the mirror window setup being used. I believe that was actually something Team Liquid tried a little bit with mirror on this site back at SI. Now they'll start to have full control of Warehouse. They'll start to work in towards Missile. Using this new Habana tech, of course, they could have brought the Thermite, but with Ace banned out, we're seeing a lot more of this Habana tech where you can use those X-Kairos pellets to break open just the very top and very bottom of a wall and turn it fully soft. With a new ban system inside a Siege X, that's become a lot more common of a strategy as these teams have needed to rely on third hard breachers or sometimes even dealing it with 3 hard breach bans in certain parts of the round. Looks like it's going to be a 5v5 execute, though, Parker. Everybody on Liquid alive, everybody from NIP in the bomb site, with the exception of Hates, who is still playing reception. Cons on the filter stairs, holding a strong position as well. I'm not sure Liquid have a whole lot of entry points, but they are starting to smoke things out.
Nitro Cell goes down in a huge round from Hates already, with 3 more players on Liquid to find. Make that 2. Maya, goodbye. Nip searching for their second round in a row. And a good start to this map. Then Team Liquid fired things up. Nesk on the board in a desperate attempt to win the round for his team. Can't accomplish it. Hates will find a 3rd kill to shut down a potential Liquid comeback. Nip up 3-2.
That's a crazy nitro from Hates. I wish we got to see it from his POV where it ended up lying, because he was top floor. He was just playing around lobby, playing around the main stairs, and then got the nitro pick onto the attacker that was outside of stock. So through the window was able to get a nasty pick with that. really good stuff coming out from Hates, able to get that vertical pick and then also at the same time find Ask from up above. That is exactly the start that you want to see from Hates. Of course, big player for NIP. He's been one of those guys that has really started to step up. 102 kills coming into this game, second most on the squad, and the only player in this lobby to have never qualified for an international LAN event. This will be his third professional year as a Rainbow Six Siege Pro. So he's been around the block for quite a while, previously on Vivo Keydstars and a few other teams, but now on NIP, starting to find his spot. Of course, hungry for the spot in the top 4 of the South American League. That was a big round to come through from Hates and steal the #1 spot in the server.
Hates really is quite a terrific player. When he played back on that Vivo Keydstars lineup, he really was something. And I mean, credit to NIP. They've been doing an excellent job of finding and cultivating younger talent that has flourished in other ways. I mean, I remember when Pino and Musi were brought onto this squad to complement that Kamikaze Psycho Julio core that had long reigned supreme back when this team was known as Black Dragons way long ago before getting picked up by Ninjas in Pyjamas. Black Dragons obviously still in the scene. If this is the only match that you're watching, you might not be aware they still do have a team. Their org has a new look. They changed the logo and branding. And of course, they got different players on it to boot. Unfortunately, despite placing in the top 6, they did fall in the previous game and are now out of the hunt for a top 4 spot, no longer in the playoffs. But yeah, now after NIP did that, they pick up Fantasy, they pick up Hates. They've been doing an excellent job of finding this young talent. NIP have just always struggled with consistency issues. Same with Liquid. The potential is there on the side of Ninjas in Pyjamas.
A lot of utils still to clear out if you're Team Liquid. Fantasy, a really powerful position. He's got a Kiba barrier to protect him from the bottom. He's got a shield as well to protect him from up above, and ADSs that he's playing on too, but leaves that power position as the Dokkaebi call rains out to try to take some gunfights, but still being protected now by the Kiba, finally cleaned up by Ask. That's good util play by Liquid to force him out of that spot. Get the opening pick. Now hunting for more as they're circling around the bomb site from the main floor. Haven't cleared out up top, though. If they try to plant, that Burt angle will still exist.
Looks like a logic bomb is ready to go at the hands of Ask, as Fantasy, the only one in the ground, will give Liquid a much-needed reprieve. A terrific player no more, but NIP has other tools at their disposal. Toxic gas will slow down resets as his assault will be about a minute out from the zeros hitting the board, meaning he's got to get closer or else Maya won't be able to get that diffuser down again. Not the usual support players holding on to the case at this current point in time. Nest taking some damage at the hands of Pino, and an even greater advantage now for Liquid. I'm not really sure what the Blackbeard was thinking there, but the rest of the team is doing their job. Wizard is the last one up, and well, he'll have to work some real magic against the remaining players of Liquid, many of whom, 2 of the 3, have taken quite a beating. Diffuser gets planted. Nesk and Ask, the last 2 that need to die. Set up Maya in a 1v1 with Wizard. Nesk taking some damage as those 2 are the culprits down below for Liquid. Wizard searching for anything really at this point. Tale as old as time. Play with the kill holes. But at some point, you got to drop down to get to the case. That's the bigger issue, Jesse. I don't know how much more time Wizard will have as he hits the deck, and Maya, the one who didn't really seem to be too involved with the actual fighting aspect of the round, gets the final kill. Boys will turn their pages as we now set our way to the halfway point of this round.
Tough spot from Wizard. That is twice in this game that he has had full top floor control with active pings on the diffuser and has still managed to lose. Obviously, it's been a man disadvantage both times, and so that's never going to be easy, but you still got to credit Team Liquid for how effective they've been at sneaking that plant down despite the intel advantage, despite how strong that they've had with the control up above on the side of NIP. This time, the plant actually did finish. It wasn't just a pull off to get the frag. So nice job to be coming out of Maya, getting that plant on the ground. I believe his first plant ever this season in the SAL. So congratulations for him. Has been weird who's been holding the defuse kits for Team Liquid. I would assume that that is just based on the bomb site and not so much a real shift, as usually it's resets and Ask that have been putting the kit on the ground. But regardless, they will manage to get that 3-3 split, feeling quite good here on Lair, and they will move to the defensive side. Obviously, NIP's only game this season was a 7-0, so They have 100% win rate on both sides, but they only have one attacking round to show that was on the top floor previously. So might be a little bit of reading into that through the first round, but I kind of doubt it on the side of Team Liquid. Looking at their defensive win rate, 67% through 3 rounds, very strong, but again, very limited sample size. So really tough to say how this second half is going to go. I will say leaving the Kaid up is a very bold choice. You do not see that very often on Lair. Nask will immediately take advantage of it.
Sound appears to have returned, so cause for celebration here. We can get some clapping in the chat. Thank you for your patience while the tech issues were fixed. Honestly, I don't know if it was even going out on the broadcast. We had lost sound entirely for about 4 rounds, give or take, after the sound had come out of sync with what we were seeing. So if you, the viewer, experienced that, thank you for your patience. If not, then it was just on our end, then great. As long as you are sheltered from it, then that is all that matters. We are back in the action, and the sound has returned just in time for the side swap. And just in time for Team Liquid to decide that they don't want to deal with any shields except for a blitz for now. They'll see how successful Cons can be on the quick German operator.
Gonna have to make some kind of an entry point because they really didn't bring any good answers to the Kaid. Getting the mask wall open is gonna be really awkward now as it's going to be electrified and they don't really have a good way to break through it. I guess at the same time, they don't really have much hard breach. In fact, they have nothing. So maybe it's not really gonna be part of the game plan anyways. They're gonna flood in, likely with a Finka stim, likely with some of those flashes from the blitz shield. This is likely to be a very fast and chaotic execute, so get ready for that when it comes through. Fantasy hoping to find one early with the glass, maybe through those smokes, but as the stim comes in, this will be the push.
2 mines being hit as they march on in. Nip's advance being slowed for the time being, but Fantasy has found the board. That's Nesk to die. No tuber out to slow things down even more. Diaz wrapping around, finding 2 kills. Now it's Reset's turn to maybe catch them off guard. A Nitro Cell went out, Ask and Diaz in the ground, and suddenly Nip have the upper hand in terms of players. Adrenal Surge will give Nip a bit more HP just to top them back up as they'd been damaged by some goo mines. Eight's in a rough spot. Went to pull out the secondary gadget, but Fantasy saves the day. Glass putting away the sniper, pulling out the bearing 9 and tearing through Liquid to give Nip the lead and a successful first round on attack.
Massive 4K from Fantasy. You don't see that too often from him. Fantasy is very often the first one in and the first one dead for Ninjas in Pyjamas. But this round, he was able to survive into the late round. He did find the opening pick, taking out Nesk with that sniper rifle to start off that push to get them a bit of an entry point. His Fantasy was the guy who kind of made his way in through Mez. I think a lot of the attention was really focused on Cons. He was the blitz that had jumped in through the display window. He had players backing him up through that window and through the bathroom windows as well. Nobody was really thinking about Fantasy on the glass, playing through smoke over towards Mezzanine, and I think that was really the downfall of Team Liquid. They never expected that the young gunner on the other side of the map was going to be their biggest threat. He just found pick after pick. Nobody seemed to look his way. Eventually was able to group up with a team inside a server, and then you know, you don't often think about Fantasy as a sniper player, but when he pulls out the SMG, I mean, he could do just as much damage. Goes through flying in the late round, finding kill after kill. Exceptionally well done. 9 and 5 now. The 6-time LAN attender. Fantasy has had a big season so far. Often the player to talk about on NIP. Continuing to back that up here in this all-important game versus Liquid.
I'm sure you didn't mean it that way, but the way that you said 6-time LAN attender really comes across as an insult, not more than that.
No.
Because usually you'd say, yeah, you know, a 2-time winner, oh, a season champion. And so you're just like, he was present.
Well, I'll tell you, Parker, he's been to a lot of LANs, but it's been a while, right? All of those LANs came back on the old Furious squad that he used to be a part of. So, you know, I think it has been maybe a disappointing couple of years from Fantasy, but he's shown in the past that he can make it to big events and obviously wants to do that once again on NIP and maybe change some of that bad luck he's had and turn it around.
Again, it'll take some time to drone out a map this big. Yep, didn't really need to do a lot of droning last time around. They got hit by Diaz trying to flank around. Then you saw Resets try to do the same thing. Nip didn't catch Diaz, but they were smart to keep an eye on what was coming from behind. They stopped Resets the second time. See those drones now being punished. We're about to hit the halfway mark. And we're closing in on the bomb site. Shield in hand for Cons yet again. Fantasy, the first casualty on the side of Nip. Again, a Ying at the front is not unusual, but a Ying dying early is never a good thing for the attackers, especially with Fantasy having 9 kills to his name. A very impressive tally and one that leads the server at this current point in time. You've got a good read down on some of the defenders below too. It allows Hates to take up residency on that middle floor. The defenders evade him for now. Team Liquid with an advantage of 1, Jesse.
Make it 2. Nesk, good pick on the Hates. You saw how strong those drones were, but it doesn't seem to matter. Nesk a second as well, and Maya finds Wizard. Everything falls to pieces. The top floor clear has completely fumbled Parker, and it leaves Pino in a 1v5. No hope of winning this round. Aware of an aggressive player bottom lobby, will take this gunfight and lose it. Great from Maya. Nice little shot to end out the round. A flawless response from Team Liquid, and I think that round just showcases how strong an opening pick can be when it spirals into one more, and eventually the whole thing.
Yeah, and this matchup has really not been that close, despite it being a 4-4 scoreline. These rounds have been so decisively won by the teams that there's very few times where you turn around and go, oh, okay, well, it could have gone either way. No, these teams are winning these rounds, and they're winning them often quite dominantly. So if you get that first pick, if you can make that not just 1 pick, but 2 picks, you're in excellent shape. When Team Liquid loses, usually they'll surrender the first pick or the second. They'll get 2 picks very quickly thereafter and then completely fall apart. The same thing with Nip. Nip will get maybe the first pick, maybe Liquid gets it. The next team will transfer that into a quick 2 pick, and then they fall apart, and then it ends up being 3 players on the side of Liquid who survives, or 3 players on the side of Nip who survive. All told, the rounds have not been close, though the scoreline has been. And that kind of excites me, frankly, because it just adds even more unpredictability to this series. About halfway done, maybe a little bit over halfway done, this layer map. Bank is up next, so no matter what, the 4 maps that were played today, if a 5th is required, then that'll be Clubhouse. No matter what, the 4 maps that we see will not be repeat maps at all. The same can be said for Clubhouse if a 5th is needed. And out of the 2 matchups, I gotta say, I don't know if you agree with me, but this is the matchup that I suspect would need a 3rd map of the 2, and I felt that before we got in.
Yeah, I think that's what most people were thinking, Parker. The Maverick struggling to get any work done on this wall. He's hoping to make it soft by reaching the very top and very bottom, but it hasn't really happened so far. There was a nitro tossed out by Ask. I think it got zapped by the electricity. I'm not 100% confident on that, but regardless, didn't find any bits of damage, and now this wall's still struggling to be opened up. It's a very deliberate choice by NIP to ban out the Azami instead of the Kaid. That means that they knew that they would be playing against this operator. They should have had answers coming through, and that is, of course, going to be Hates on the Maverick, which is part of that answer. But if you can't get the wall open, this bomb site becomes really awkward to take, forces you to go over towards green side, and then you really need a strong top floor clear if you're going to make that happen. So it's kind of where the attention shifts for NIP now. They need a lot of these bodies up above to disappear if they want a good chance of trying to push in through bottom green.
Pino and Fantasy look like they've found goo mines from the position of their HP bars. So goo mines don't just do damage, they're excellent for information. Team Liquid benefit from that. I don't know if it's Maya or one of the other defenders that will be within earshot of the goo mine being stepped on, but every time that happens, you get a little bit more info about where your opponents are coming from. Talked about the importance of the first pick. It will come very late in this round. A minute left on the clock. Everybody's still alive. Logic bombs going off to enable Nip to find these defenders, but so far coming up empty-handed.
Not happy if you're NIP. You've worked nothing so far. You can't get to the main breach. The top floor still remains closed. There's really important walls that you haven't been able to open, even up above. And off this logic bomb, what are you getting? It's a lot of sound, but I mean, are you going to swing this Warden on the other side of the wall? Fancy hoping to find an opening here.
He does find somebody. It's Nesk, who he does serious damage to. The 2 Moroccan operators from Wind Bastion, if you will recall, doing battle. Nesk walks away wounded, still very much alive. 40 seconds have flown by. Fantasy on the board, not for 1 but 2. 11 kills as a 3rd is there as well. Maya shut down, and Fantasy is an absolute monster. Got one more lined up. Down goes Cons to Ask. Pino on the board, denying an ace. Diaz, though, swiftly stopping him. Pino will need to find time to get Diffuser down. Diaz can stop him, but he doesn't have a good idea as to where this kit is getting placed. Might be able to get one of these players as now they escape the vicinity. This was very close for Liquid. Diaz doing his damnedest to keep his team in this round. Back and forth, these teams have gone since the very start. No more than 2 consecutive rounds won by either side. Diaz has his work cut out for him. This will be the Devil's Split. The 2 remaining players on Nip, both on the other side of walls. A 180 would need to be had to perfectly win that for Diaz. He's not going to get the job done. A great post plant for Nip, albeit short-lived. They take the lead.
Capital of Morocco is the city of Rabat. And listen, NIP really needed to pull a rabbit out the hat if they wanted to win that round. Thankfully, Fantasy is a magician, and he works ridiculous magic on the top floor of Lair. His ability to find those picks after waiting for so long, after biding his time, after being so patient, after his position was known since he lost the first gunfight, or at least whiffed and didn't find the head, is ridiculous. Swing after swing predicted every position that might come his direction, and Fantasy was able to shut that down. An extremely well played around by him, and that just comes down to raw mechanics. NIP had no opening in that round, no chance of making a push happen without a breach, without top floor control, without a single pick at 22 seconds. But it didn't seem to matter. Fantasy was the guy who pulled the team out of that hole they were in, and somehow NIP plant the diffuser. Somehow they walk away with the win. Second set of bans will go through for this second half, and Liquid will call attack timeout. They must be stunned that they just lost that round.
I mean, Fantasy just simply overpowered your entire team. Diaz has had some really good moments, really high impact kills, and has been settling in quite nicely on this team. I know there was some skepticism amongst those watching as Liquid made their roster moves. I mean, shipping a player like Palu off of your team is not something that you do lightly and without much thought and consideration. And no offense to Diaz, but he is no Palu. If you're getting rid of Palu and getting Diaz, I think most people will look at that as a downgrade in terms of fragging potential. But there are other things that come into play, things that we might not know about. Players just sometimes have personality conflicts. Sometimes they clash with their other teammates. Sometimes people just simply get tired of a team or the roster and they need a change of scenery for them to find themselves again. And sometimes you can spare a little bit of fragging power if you're a team like Liquid, and maybe you think that there's some leadership traits that come with a player like Diaz that can help improve your team. It's not like it's a perfect one-for-one swap. I will say, as somebody who has watched Diaz from the very beginning, all the way back when he made his debut in the NA League, he's a gifted player. He has very big moments. He often plays roles that are very hard to play, and he is getting more comfortable with this team. And as time has gone on, Team Liquid as a whole looks far more comfortable with Ask and Diaz on this roster than they did at the start of the stage.
Certainly. I mean, I think it's interesting with roster moves, right? Because sometimes you look at a team and it's very clearly not a one-for-one trade. SSG is a great example. They drop Forest for Newers. Those are really not comparable players. But for Team Liquid, it kind of is straight one-for-one. They drop their IGL of Lagonis. They pick up an IGL in Ask. They drop Palu, a very famous kind of late-round player. They pick up Diaz, another very famous late-round player. But you do kind of be able to swap those, and you can kind of make those comparisons for a team like Liquid that you sometimes can't make. Hoping to have that impact now and replicate the success Palu just had of making top 4 in the SAL. It will start by losing said IGL, as Ask is the opening death for this 4th defense on the top floor of Lair.
Nice fire back from Maya, who he himself is a terrific younger player. If we're going to give a nod to Nip with their ability to find young talent, we have to credit Liquid here for pulling Maya up, who has looked great most of his time competing at a tier 1 level. Nesk, who's competing with Diaz and Maya for top frag on the team, is gone, and Nitro SAL will send Pino right back out the same door, this time in a coffin. Cons on the board. Fantasy dies at the hands of Maya, as Maya will find his 2nd kill, and it's just a mess. All this action occurring in the span of 15 seconds, leaving 4 players still alive. 2 apiece. Maya and Diaz doing significantly better in the HP department.
Really going to come down to coordination. How do Cons and Wizard want to address this? They have a single Candela, but one of the players they're up against will be a Warden. 2 smokes and a nade to be held by them as well. You've got to be really smart about where you play this. A plant mask wall looks really good, actually. If they can just walk in without anybody noticing, there's no nitro cells. Diaz brought a deployable shield for his secondary, so there's a real opportunity for Cons to get a plant down, and then it just comes down to how can Wizard cover.
That's the dangerous thing for Nip, right? They'll only have one player to watch over, so Team Liquid will have them out-muscled in that regard. Perfect time for those smart glasses to go on for Diaz. Cons will get the diffuser down quite successfully. Diaz looking to add to those impactful kills. Cons finding multiple targets. Maya with a triple kill. Diaz a huge round as well. Maya frozen in place. I'm not sure if he was typing or not, but an easy counter disable for Team Liquid. The timeout has settled their nerves. And these two teams just cannot shake one another. Destined to dance one round at a time. 5-5, the scoreline.
Tough game for Cons so far. You can see he's currently at the bottom of the scoreboard for NIP, and he consistently is for this team. Of course, is the hard breach and IGL for this player or for this team, so you don't expect Cons to be the guy fragging, but he's in the 1v2 post plant. That is where you need your support player to be able to step up and get those critical kills. It's not often that you need your support player to be fragging, but in the 1v2 post plant, that's where it has to happen. Cons couldn't quite find anything on the gridlock, wasn't able to secure those kills, and so ends up losing the post plant 1v2. Really good moves from Diaz, the guy we were just talking about, to step up. He had big shoes to fill as he replaced Paulo on this roster, but has been filling them, I would say, quite nicely, and now will keep Team Liquid alive in this game, off of series, a match point for their opponents. This is just map 1, of course. There are still more maps to play after this no matter what, but it's Liquid's map pick. If they lose this, then you're forced to go play Bank, which is NIP's choice. It's not been a great map for Liquid historically. This does feel like it's a critical map for Liquid to be able to walk away with a win. If they go down 6-4, they are really starting to stumble, but thankfully that is not going to be the case. Have at least 2 more rounds in this game.
Very quick ascent now as Nip will still have that shield op in. Liquid getting rid of the Maverick instead of the Blitz suggested to me that they didn't find these shield operators to be that problematic beyond the Monty and the Blackbeard. Keep the Blitz on the board. Don't try to box Nip in on the Fuse shield, which is repeatedly shown it's not greatest substitute here. Discovery phase right now as Cons is in the building, albeit the complete other side of the building. He will have Fantasy behind him as backup and run into barbed wire to start things off. So we're learning the presence of the NIP players through Team Liquid.
Nobody holding these green stairs other than a zombie. It can be a really tough spot to hold, so that ban really is shining through now from NIP. The Maverick was previously used on this bomb site to try to open the main wall, but it wasn't very successful. Resets, hoping to find a pick. There's a nitro cell pre-placed by Ask. I'm not 100% sure where it is, but that'll be heard certainly by both teams. Makes it really awkward if you want to start pushing up. This floor is hard, but if you walk into storage, that's where your life becomes in serious trouble. Still a lot of pressure towards green side. They have yet to clear out anybody up above. Last time it was Fantasy, Parker, that opened things and really started to turn this round into a victory. They might need another big round coming out from him because, again, they are stalling out top floor, and their site pressure looks even worse than last time.
3 kills for Fantasy in that round, if you recall, which is en route to him currently sitting at 13 kills, leading the lobby. Maya is not that far behind, and both of these players can dominate a game if given the opportunity. High impact kills have been plentiful for both teams. Even some of the players whose overall kill total doesn't look that impressive at first glance. Aids was checking the ceiling, but had a wrong idea of where Nesk was playing. He's punished immediately. Liquid with the leadoff pick with 45 seconds remaining. Ask pulling a nitro cell, well coordinated as Cons is the target for that. Goodbye to the shield. Now Pino's gone and all he can do is scratch his head. NIP have suffered almost nothing at this point in time. They'll win another flawless round as Resets gets back-to-back kills and Liquid sit on match point.
Frankly, if we didn't see that ridiculous performance coming out from Fantasy, this could be over 7-5 with Team Liquid walking away with it. That Bunk's briefing defense honestly looks so strong. They do not give up an inch on the top floor. The Nitrocell that had been pre-placed for almost 2 minutes at that point finally gets the kill on the blitz. The smoke did a really good job sawing things out. Top green. Didn't feel like there was a whole lot of pressure from Nip on that top floor, but I mean, that just comes down to how difficult it is to pressure those players up inside of our 6 room, right? If you're not able to walk through the green hallway, you can't really jump in the display window. Coming in from the ops side in through mask is also really awkward, in through office. So there's no good way to really push that part of the map. So instead, NIP were like, well, maybe we can kind of sneak a plant in through the bottom floor and immediately get domed from the vertical angles. So trying to find some cheesy way to win that round. NIP never found a solution. They will call their tack timeout as their opponents hit match point, and will have one last chance to discuss what they're going to do on the final round to try to force this overtime with their coach. It is likely to be basement. They could go for armory, to be honest. They could throw a curveball on the side of Liquid, but no, basement will be the call. So this should have been predicted by NIP.
Your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Liquid have spent this entire stage being the masters of we're losing, we're losing, we're losing, we're losing. We win! And it seems to be happening yet again, where Nip has honestly looked like the more comfortable team through and through on this map. Because you look comfortable doesn't mean you're the better team, and it certainly doesn't mean that's going to translate to a victory. Team Liquid could very easily take this round, and we could go from there, but I mean, if Liquid comes away with a win here, I'm not going to be gobsmacked, but I'm definitely going to be intrigued to see how that translates to Bank, because I don't know. Based on all of what I've seen, maybe you disagree with me here. I think Nip has been overall the better team. They might not be rewarded with a victory, and sometimes, as unpopular an opinion as it might be to say this, sometimes the better team just does not win. They have an opportunity. I will say, Team Liquid have an opportunity to be the better team, Jesse. They just need to win this round, and then they are objectively better.
Well, we'll see how overtime ends up going, but I will say if Bank is on the horizon, that's a map that Team Liquid are on a 4-game losing streak, so you'd like to see them go into that with a bit of a buffer by winning this first map. They've not played basement this entire game so far. They've just rotated between top floor and Bunk's briefing. Does that mean that they've been hiding it for the most important round 12, or does that mean that they're not confident in it? Should get an answer to that question relatively soon. It is not really a roam strategy. They've got Maya sitting in armory at the moment, but he should have a hatch open that he can fall back relatively quickly, and then Ask is nearby him too, but I cannot imagine they're going to fight for this, given that they're playing Tachanka and Mute. Stranger things have happened, but it just doesn't seem like a very common strategy to want to be playing so aggressive with them, and if we hit the 2-minute mark left in the round, both will fall back. So, relatively passive setup. NIP have brought loads of soft breach with, of course, Pino on the Ram and Hates on the Buck and stuff to work open these floorboards. Also got some really good operators to find late round locations. Fantasy on that Demo starting to hunt the Froyo, and then Wizard and the Dokeby as well for that phone call late round.
Gadgetry being expended aplenty on the side of Nip. Logic Bomb will go off, and good timing for that. Their Mute Jammer's down, so there will be some salvation here on the side of Team Liquid. Losing Pino early would be a devastating blow for Nip as they look to stay in contention here on map number 1. They are potentially a moment away from dropping what would be a critical map for them and setting them up in a poor spot for Bank in map number 2. I do like that Nip is spread out. I do like that they've still maintained top floor control. Question will be for me, can Liquid keep them at bay? Most of the stall potential on the side of Liquid has been expended at this point. So Nip might find a small window of opportunity to pull off and execute here.
Yeah, a lot of pressure over towards Filter Stairs, and I do think that's the right read. It will be an office plant to finish things off, but still, they're not going down the staircase. The hatch is more likely to be the entry point.
Flashbang will go off. They've lost resets. Overtime looking more likely now. Liquid just need to survive the storm. Try to get a couple kills here and hope for the best, but they'll now lose Maya as well. Down goes Diaz and Ask, and we've seen flawless rounds aplenty so far today. Nesk attempting to stop the flawless, but can he stop the overall victory? Guns down Pino, Cons as diffuser, no way to stop him. Wizard propels us to OT, and at minimum, 2 more rounds remain between these teams.
Beautiful push and a beautiful read by NIP. They didn't overcommit to the roam clear because they knew it was going to be given more or less for free. They brought so much soft destruction to play from up above. They knew that the vertical was going to be how they win that round. They knew that coming in with the ram and the sledge and getting early picks, not even necessarily about finding kills when you're up above the opponent, but just be able to force them out of specific positions so that you can go for that drop down through armory so you can start to work a plant inside of office, and then you can continue to hold the angles from up above. A flawless execute to come out from NIP, and just felt like Liquid never really had the opportunity to get aggressive or to make anything happen that would stall NIP's push out. I mean, they stayed in the basement that entire round. They eventually had somebody push into filter, which was supposed to be their big sneaky play, but then that guy got droned out, so it didn't really end up amounting to much. 6-6, we will face overtime. Both these teams, I mean, they've been dominantly winning Lair every time they've played it. Liquid got crushing victories over Cloud9 and Loud this season. NIP, the only time they played this map was a 7-0. I think it's only fitting this goes the distance all the way to overtime, Parker.
It's back to the point I made. No team has won more than 2 rounds in a row. For the most part, it's just been trading individual rounds back and forth. So yeah, I mean, at some point we have to come to a conclusion here. The people who've been following the round score lines, you know that once we hit that 15th and final round, that's it. It's over. There is no more to it. You cannot play longer. There's no unlimited OT, so there is a dedicated stop. If there wasn't, I think this matchup would go on and on and on with the way that these two teams have done battle. I'll ask your expertise here, though. With how close Lair has been, which team do you think is set up better in the series, Nip or Liquid?
I mean, I think it's nice for Liquid they start defense. They don't have to play the basement again. That was kind of a disaster for them. They can just go for bunks briefing, and then they can play top floor in round 15 if they do need it. It's been a 50-50 map so far, but you always imagine that the defense, once they can choose their sides, they're a little bit more free. They should have a slight advantage at that point. I do expect map 2 to go the way of Nip, so as long as Liquid close this out, I kind of like their chances for the series, but it really does hinge on this overtime. If NIP do steal away Lair, you start to get really worried as a Team Liquid fan, because Bank has not been your map this season.
Hennessy on the hunt now, 14 kills. Still leading the way in the lobby, though Nesk is making up for lost time. These two are on a collision course. Nitrocell tossed up will cause Fantasy to back away. That might actually harm Nesk's chances here. Without the sound of that Nitrocell, Fantasy might have continued to engage. There's a nade in hand. He's decided to pull out the sidearm instead. Look at this duel between two Titans. One young, one old. An old man can still shoot. Nesk good enough for one. The other youngster, Hates, jumping in on the fun. The Nitro Cell gets Hates, but a little bit too belated. Not quick enough to save Nesk's life. Diaz is down on the ground as well, and Team Liquid have themselves an advantage. Scoreline will say 4v2, but we all know only 3 players still stand for Liquid. He has finished off. Wizard doing some serious damage, but Liquid will sweep right through and go back to match point.
Wizard almost replicating the magic we saw from Fantasy a couple of rounds ago, but not to be. It ends up being another strong top floor defense to come through from Liquid. As I've been saying, man, I really like their bunks briefing defense. It feels like they are in complete control of the top floor there. NIP moved a little bit faster this time. They tried to get a little bit scrappier, but close range, the shotgun versus the Deimos. I mean, we've seen this over and over again. It does not favor the Deimos consistently now on this map. We've seen the smoke player come out in the advantage in that gunfight. And again, this time it's Nesk who's able to walk away with the opening pick. The actual smoke, that was mute on the Nesk, and the actual smoke coming in through storage was having a huge bit of value too, stalling things out green hole as Reset so often does. Able to really pull that round to a halt and make sure that NIP couldn't find any opening. I liked that they tried to get a little scrappier with it. I liked that they tried to find that entry point, but Team Liquid are just too good at walking down the top floor for a bunks briefing hold without a miracle. I mean, it's really impossible to crack that part of the map open.
I was going to make a joke about Miracle being a former player, but I'll just say instead, I'm not quick enough today.
Fair enough, me neither.
I don't know if we're quick enough most days.
Fair enough.
You're weak. You're agreeing with things that you don't need to agree with, but I know that you're not feeling well, so you have no choice but to agree with me. I pity you. I want feisty Jesse back.
I'm sorry.
Feisty Jesse only comes around when he's had enough cough medicine to make his skull float in his head, so.
Hey, we'll see what happens for the finals. Back on Sunday.
Everybody here in chat, do you want to see Jesse try to cast Zoot off his mind on cough meds, or? We'll see what they have to say. All right, 45 seconds into the round. Nip fighting for their lives, defending here on layer.
I think my eyes are going to be on Ask on this round. He's playing down below. He's on the Deimos. We've seen some real failures of Deimos plays today, but if he can get a vert angle onto an important player, maybe clear off Pino, maybe clear off Fantasy, somebody who's playing on a soft floorboards, and that could be all the difference. See him trying to work these vert angles. He knows how critical his position is.
All of the actual off-site play has been fun to watch here on layer. You can see those shotguns making lines of sight still. Nade goes up and Cons has no choice but to back away. Back to the Black Mirror he goes. Pino dropped. The first kill is going to come out on the side of Hates, and Pino might actually be retrievable. I would love to see what happened there. Hates team killing Pino by mistake, and Nitroso goes out. Huge round from Hates at the moment. Some missteps, but ultimately some triumphs. He's on the ground, waiting for the next player from Team Liquid to emerge. Final minute to go, and Liquid are so close to being able to pull off and execute, but they are wounded, Jesse.
Flashes from Nesk have to be huge. If you can't make something happen with these, where do they find their opening from? Up against Cons on the board and 2, gonna be tough.
Hates is still in such a strong spot, now called into action, and he'll finish the deal with Fantasy side by side. And we go all 15 rounds. I'm sorry, Jesse, what did you say about this particular series and how many rounds we'd need?
Barker asked that we might need to go all the way to overtime, and here we are at 15.
And
what?
And we're going all the way. You were right.
Oh, sorry. Again, the cough medicine.
It's okay. You need a Michael Jordan flu game is what you need, but for casting. So.
Listen, the plays today have been quite sick from both these teams, just like me, and we will get this all the way down to 15. Team Liquid cannot defend the middle floor as they've been oh so successful on, but instead they're going to go up above to the top. This was 1-1 last time. Team Liquid won it back in round 10 for a successful defense. They lost it the first time. That was back in round 7, their first attempt at any defensive round here on layer. So we get to try it one more time to try to hold things down. It'll be no surprise to NIP, who could have seen this bomb site choice from a mile away. Fantasy at 16 frags at the moment, outscoring everybody else in the lobby. He has been instrumental in NIP's success, as he so often is. Not a player who is afraid to take risks. Not a player who necessarily even knows what fear is. He's going to have to be that big player once again. Round 15 to get the job done. Bomb site will favor Team Liquid, but this is going to be close.
As close as we're going to get. And the final round here is, again, these teams just one round back and forth and back and forth. Very balanced matchup. And again, most of these rounds quite decisive. One team will absolutely blow the other out of the water, and that is it. The scoreline will not really help people understand just how, oh my, just how close that was. A terrible start for Nip as they lose Hates on a spray through the door frame. Should be able to crawl to safety in there. He's done just that, Jesse.
Yeah, easy pickup. He's outside the building. Nesk wanted to go for the swing. He knew he downed him, but it was just way too risky with how many other players there would have been. He would have had to fight Fantasy, who again, 16 and 10. Not a gunfight I'd want to take. Pino is holding the cross on the other side of the map, but the bulk of this push is going to be coming through operations. Getting this map wall open and going for the plant will be the game plan, and you can see Liquid testing NIP at every corner, but so far have yet to find a real kill.
RCE going out.
You have tools on the side of Nip. Literally all of them still with gadgetry in their pocket. An early death for Nip will signal a loss of gadgets on impacting this bomb site. Most of the gadgetry has been used by Liquid up to this point. Half the round to go. Blue mine still being generated by Maya, but none in pocket. No gas canisters for Ask either. All mute jammers set down. One Zoto canister for Nesk. Not all of these gadgets are passive gadgets, so the fact that you're not going to have them for the actual execute is quite devastating. They still have a Nitro Cell, though. It somehow manages to do damage to Pino, but not all the way. Nesk now dead. Reset's dead as well. Ask the only one on the board. Liquid down by 1. They've softened up these Nip players, but as long as you've got 1 HP to your name and a gun in your hand, you can still easily win the round. But these teams still coming to blows now, Jesse. Khan's holding that diffuser. Pino eliminating Maya. A trade back as Diaz is now on the board to join Ask. The last 2 people on the side of Liquid are the 2 with kills in this round. Bombing with each other. Again, lots of damage done on the side of Nip. A great shot by Ask as he now squares up and repositions. This is a beautiful moment for Team Liquid as they are holding off the hordes from Nip. They'll lose Ask, though, and Diaz will need to clutch up into a 1v1. A 1v1 to determine the winner of map 1, and Diaz does it for Liquid! It doesn't get much closer than that. Most of these rounds have been blowouts, and the closest round that we see goes in favor of Team Liquid as they take layer. Here, Bank.
Listen, I do think NIP are going to be the advantage team coming in against Team Liquid. Team Liquid have really struggled on this map. They're on a 4-game losing streak. Now, only one of those games was this season, and that was against Furia. It was a 7-3 loss where they struggled both on attack and on defense. So maybe you could say that that's not a great sample size, and I think that's super fair, but we'll just have to see what Liquid look like coming into this matchup. NIP 2-1 this season. Their last game was also a loss, 7-3 to FaZe, so it's by no means going to be free for Nip, but you do have to wonder kind of how the rest of this game is going to play out. The question on Bank when it comes to the operator bans is always, do you ban the hard breach? Will you ban out Ace and or Habana? That makes the hatches so much harder to get. That makes Canto Wall so much harder to get. That makes Server Wall so much harder to get. Makes it really difficult to attack this map. Janitor Wall, no matter where you're pushing, it's going to make it really awkward if you don't have those operators available to you. Instead, they go for the Ying and the Monty. Now, I kind of thought that Liquid wouldn't ban out both hard breachers. I thought just because NIP love playing shield on this map, because Khans will run all the shields that he possibly can on Bank, I thought they would go double shield. The Ying is a bit of an interesting answer too. It's an operator that Wizard loves to play, so there is logic behind it. Certainly makes sense, but it's going to mean that Team Liquid aren't so afraid of that range hard breach coming out from NIP. They're also not so afraid of the faster, less protective shields. If a Blackbeard comes for them, if a Blitz comes for them, and they're going to be ready for that. They're going to be expecting it. Seems like for this operator lineup, Khans isn't going to change. It'll be the Osa, which has had it struggle down on server, but Khans is a great shield player. We'll have to see what he can do with it.
Another big map on the board. Layer, obviously the biggest in the map pool, but Bank is pretty large. Clubhouse as well, if it's needed as our third map. I'm gonna put these maps on a diet, the size that they are. They've got all the big ones in front of us today. Very similar to the way that Layer plays out, is that Bank will need to be droned quite meticulously. First drone portion is going to be over here inside of Garage. One defender from Team Liquid playing quite safely. Resets has been spotted as there goes the drone. Now it's Fantasy following up, looking for a read on Resets, who on Echo really cannot afford to die so early.
Hunting for that Yokai cam, but won't be able to find it as it is way back up in the corner and does hit them with a stun. Opportunity now, though, is Reset is facing 2 players walking in, including the Osa.
Down goes Maya, and the Osa is going to draw so much attention now as Resets will get shoved off this position. Nade goes out. Logic Bombs will, or rather the EE1Ds will go out, rather, and down goes Resets. The hands of Khans. Good entry point from Nip that will continue to get better as they punish those defenders. He has his last man standing, trying to chew through what remains now of Wizard. His bullets bouncing off of the shield. put in front by Osa, and a flawless start to bank by Nip.
Nice play coming in with that double push through garage. Obviously with Fantasy rocking the DMR, the the cammers, that's going to be one of those long range guns that you can bring out to really have good impact on those long angles that you find inside of garage. Not usually the gun that you would see. The Para going to be more common on the Brava, but when you're facing the long angle, I mean, Fantasy knows exactly what he's doing with that gun. Hit some beautiful shots to put his team into the advantage. And then I really liked the Osa play as well. A lot of time you see Osa being brought out, especially when it's with the planter, you see it being brought over towards server, which I find doesn't have a great success rate unless it's a rush that really catches the defenders off guard. But through garage, when you can really capitalize on those long angles, it becomes almost impossible for defenders to deal with that shield, just because the utility they have, nitros or impacts or what have you, don't go far enough to actually counter the shield. So Team Liquid felt like they had to play aggressive versus that garage push that was coming in heavy from NIP. They had their Echo kind of pinned down, and they knew if he died, they were in a really rough spot for that execute. And then they just committed way too much, lost body after body, and it was a really good push from NIP coming through. So nice job by Fantasy, nice job by Cons, and Pino with 2 that round as well. Good stuff.
Sing the praises of the good players when they deserve it. Wag the finger at the players when they don't deserve it. Those environmental hazards have now been triggered. We haven't really seen a lot of matches where they have been hugely impactful. Some of the fire pipes that like blow up and spread fire on the ground, I don't know what the official terminology is for it, but flammable pipes, I guess you could say. Oh, those have had their moments, but smoke canisters usually get popped pretty early on because if you're a defender, you don't want to be at the mercy of an attacker using that. So I do wonder if we'll see any changes in the game to their effectiveness. They are cool from a casual perspective. I don't think they matter all that much from a competitive perspective, and I don't know where the devs' heads are at. I very firmly believe, and I don't know if you agree, Jesse, that there should be more casual elements to this game that remain casual and keep some of the more competitive elements in there separate. There's a rough spot for Resets to find himself in, try and army crawl his way in Banana as he's punished by Pino's flame arrow, and Nip with an advantage yet again.
Great Capital play. That's one of those operators that I think you could have banned out if you were Liquid. Pino has really loved this operator on bank so far this stage, both on the bottom floor and here for the top floor. So not a surprise to see him rocking this. Didn't directly get the kill. That was Hates who ended up finding the final frag, but it was his fire that really caused Resets to go down. Good drones working in through top square. I imagine that this is going to be where some pressure does eventually come out for NIP, but it'll be a CEO window push for Nip as Cons has the defuse kit and it's getting in now.
Logic bombs still going off. Knock these Team Liquid players into unfavorable spots. Maya also being hounded by those bees that were shot out by Wizard as he tracks their location. Finally, Liquid gets on the board. Ask will do it in the 5th minute of the game. Liquid really don't have much to show for it at this current point in time. They'll get on the board yet again. It's Diaz gunning down Cons. A 3v3. Plenty of time for both squads. All 3 kills on the side of Liquid now coming from separate players. Ask, Diaz, and Nesk all that remain. They'll lose 2. Diaz alone, and Pino will sweep through with some help from Fantasy. Nip starting off very strong 2 rounds in a row.
Okay, I don't know where that really did come together for NIP. The end there, Pino and Fantasy, it didn't feel like that was going to be a round win for Nip, as it felt like they had really lost control of that round. They had a good push in initially where they got some good ground thanks to the Logic Bomb plus the Grim Bee combination, but eventually they started losing bodies. As soon as Cons went down, alarm bells started ringing in my head, but I think that second wins that they really got, excuse me, from Fantasy kind of coming to the bomb site was a big difference maker for NIP, and they did a really excellent job of swarming through once they had a little bit more information on where those Team Liquid players were at. Good stuff coming out from Pino and Fantasy now. 4 kills apiece through just 2 rounds.
Right back downstairs, they'll go. Liquid was a bit entrenched over in that garage portion back in round number 1, if you recall, Jesse, and did not go well for them. The tools brought by Nip were simply too much, bringing the Kludge drone to deal with any of the gadgetry that found its way over there. The OSA as well as a focal point for Liquid. It worked out very effectively. Liquid had no answer for the garage play. Looks like they're going to do something similar, though, with resets taking up space in roughly the same spot down below. I don't know if doing it all over again is the right play. This really depends on whether Nip decides to push through garage, because while Liquid might stack up defenders there, Nip might think there's another way to the bomb site.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the read, right? Team Liquid are running much the same defensive setup than they had in round one, but NIP, they don't seem interested in pushing garage once again. They've got a much different set of operators. They've got the Sens being played by Wizard, which has been incredibly popular on this bomb site when you're going for the server hatch drop, when you're pushing in through server itself. Also got the Aurora from Pino, which I'm interested to see how that gets used. I feel like we have not seen very much Aurora on this bomb site, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what NIP can bring out with this operator. It's typically one that you don't see super commonly. Probably going to be used maybe through the hatches for that late round execute. There's nobody really roaming that they have to worry about, so they can take their time. And as they get to these server stairs, Ask will be the first point of contest. They will need to clean up the smoke flying on these server stairs, and it is not an easy position to clear out, even when you have lots of utility cover.
Absolutely. A shotgun on blue stairs that will now move back into the bomb site. Nip has Team Liquid running scared at this current point in time. Only 3 kills through those first 2 rounds. Hard to have more than that when the first round is lost. Or rather, I guess in this case, won by Nip flawlessly. Maya's got quite the angle, and we've seen this before. If he doesn't get droned out, this could be a brutal surprise for Nip.
Sends one to prompt the actual push. Last toxic bait just got used by Ask. He didn't choose to maintain his position on the server stairs. So once these Sens walls come down, expect that to be the actual push that comes through. A little bit more droning, and here we go. Fantasy opening death.
Best player in the lobby. He's joined by Pino with 4 kills, sitting at the very top of the Nip pyramid. Nip are a little bit slow here. I mean, I would have loved to have seen, if they hadn't got that opening pick all the way back in round number 1, how they would have approached this bomb site, because they are so sluggish. Jamaica's still in pocket for Diaz to fire off those Molotov. Shotgun around the corner. Ask is tearing through this team. Bates finds his way into the garage with 20 seconds left. He was coming for maybe late push. Team Liquid might have their own flawless round, depending on how Hates plays this. Nesk will get him, and yes, a flawless start in round number 1 for Nip. Liquid will have a flawless round. Round number 3, what is this, the 5th flawless round? 6th flawless round that we've seen between these two teams from Layer till now? Again, very decisive victories round by round. These teams are not winning more than 2 rounds in a row, but they are clobbering each other on the rounds they do win.
It's been really interesting to see some of the strategies coming out too, because that round we saw the Aurora being brought by Pino, and I've never really seen this operator on this bomb site, so I was super intrigued what he was going to do with it. Maybe if he was pushing server, could find a long range shot to be able to close down the doorway to hallway. Maybe if he was dropping down through the open area hatch, he was going to be able to cut off some of those angles. Instead, ran at main stairs, and that seemed to be just the worst possible place he could have used that gadget, because it told Ask exactly where they were going to be pushing from. If there's 2 ways out from the bottom of main and you block one off, well, obviously you're going to the other way. And so Ask with the shotgun just rotated to the left, got some freebie picks onto the 2 players that were trying to push main stairs, and completely stuffed that push. Really nice play coming out from the captain of Team Liquid up with the shotgun. Has kind of struggled throughout this stage. The last stage he played was with Liquid in 2022. He was plus 30 coming into this game at minus 24. So since he's kind of had to play more shield operators, since he's turned into the IGL of this team, obviously his stats have suffered, but it goes back to just show that we know how good he can be mechanically when he is focusing solely on his own ability. He can be really effective and having some real great impact reading the Aurora strat in that round.
Complete blow up a composition on the side of Nip here now, Jesse, as operators are locked in, so we're free to talk about them. Shield bans as well locked in for Team Liquid, which removes Monty, and now the Blackbeard will join. That leaves just the Fuse and the Blitz, though Osa does exist still. I know that you're an Osa hater. You are on the record being an Osa hater. I actually quite like Osa, and I think she has a lot of great applications on this map, but she doesn't function like a regular shield op where you can just walk up with a shield in front of your eyes. It's funny because I remember when Osa came out, people were like, this is what Blackbeard should have been. And then they made Blackbeard, and then they're like, well, now he's just kind of a better Osa. And it's like, are we just going to keep doing this forever, back and forth? Blitz will have to be the operator used, and Cons used that Blitz. Dude, honestly, not great success on layer, if you recall. Bank's obviously a different map, but Nip find more value out of that op.
I will say, just for the record, I think Bank is the best Osa map in Siege, so I don't mind it as much if it comes out here. But regardless, not going to be the choice. Hates on the Yana, one of the least popular operators in all of Siege. Just not a great gun anymore. The gadget has really never been that impactful for this operator, so currently has one of the lowest pick rates out of every operator in Siege, usually down lower than Tavera or Thunderbird, kind of in that range. Sometimes a shock to more casual players, but I don't really see Yana at all in competitive play these days. I'm interested to see what Hates wants to do with this operator. Of course, could have brought an Ash, which may have been more effective against the mirror windows being set up. Still pressure being put down onto Maya, who is somehow still alive on this zombie.
Roiling right now on the outside rappel. Maya will lead things off. Liquid suffered through those first 2 rounds, but have woken up. It just took them a little bit of time. Maya does pay for it, but he's down to the only dedicated hard breacher on the side of Nip. Not that hard breach is a necessity with the way that Nip is going about attacking this bomb site, but losing Pino early is not ideal. He's been a great player for Nip up to this point. I don't know if Maya can be retrieved here, Jesse.
Probably not. He's really close on the windows, so it's way too risky to go for him. They're very worried about Ask right now, who's down on the main floor. That's what Fantasy is currently looking for down on the bottom floor. Wants to make sure that they cannot deny this plant from down below. Ponce is going for it. The smokes go, and here's the plant.
Well, he baited out the nitro cell. Diaz finds nothing for it. Nesk will die, so does Diaz. It's all up to resets. Things just completely disappear. Liquid evaporate, I think you could say. Resets with no kills to his name, and it will not change. Fantasy shuts him down, and Nip is very quickly cutting through this first half. They allowed Liquid a single round, and that's it at this point. 3-1 for the Ninjas.
Just a beautiful push. It felt like everything was accounted for in the side of NIP. The one big threat was going to be Diaz on the Mira, nitroing that plant spot from Janitor. But Cons wasted his time really well. As soon as he threw those smoke grenades out, he didn't rush in for a plant. He waited for that nitro to come through. Diaz got baited. That was really the critical error on the side of Team Liquid. Again, they had players down below. Ask's job was to flank on the bottom floor and try to stop that plant vertically, but it was perfectly read by Fantasy. You could tell the early round drones were quite strong from NIP as they were able to suss out that play really early on. You saw how nervous they were out on the CEO rappels. They were constantly looking at lobby. That's because Ask was over there. They had him on a drone, and eventually Fantasy was able to find that frag, so making sure that Ask couldn't do anything on the Valkyrie from down below. Really good window coverage coming out from Wizard as well in that round. Hates a big pick too. Altogether, just really was a beautiful push from NIP. Now Team Liquid, a pretty early tack timeout. Feels like all day today, Parker. These packs have been reused really late. This will be the earliest we see so far.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to the NA League where every timeout is taken at the tail end of the second round or the second round of the second half. Obviously, that's not the case here.
Attackers need to locate.
Yeah, I mean, I
bombs
also
as they
will say,
can.
I think the timeout that was taken by Liquid in the previous map was quite successful. So here, you might actually find some pretty decent value out of it. I mean, the coaches usually know better than us. So I'm not going to be the one to come in here and critique them.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, too, because the head coach of Liquid is now Tysus, who has spent his entire career as an analyst. Was the analyst for SSG for a while, then was the analyst of Liquid. When they dropped their head coach at the start of the season, they dropped Hugzord. Instead of picking up a previous head coach, they just promoted Tysus from assistant coach / analyst to that head coach position. So this is his first time ever being the head coach of a tier 1 team, and so I think there's been a lot of pressure on him to perform in this role, and so far I think he's done well. I mean, you mentioned how effective that first tack timeout was on map 1.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, the other change that Liquid made was they got rid of Hugzord, as there's been a lot of criticism amongst the fan base as to his effectiveness as a coach, and honestly, Hugzord's timing of his timeouts was seemingly a pretty big grievance that fans had. Not that fans know exactly the inner workings of a team, but there is obviously a point in time where the fan base thinks something hasn't worked for a long period of time and things just aren't working, period. You got to make a change, whether it placates the fan base or not. They got their wish. Bugzord was moved off of the team. Again, Liquid has seen a bit of a crisis of identity over the last year or two, and they've had some great looks, and they finished second again multiple times, but coming up short, especially around the time that Blast took over as the TO for this game, which was back in, I think it was 2022, 2023. I'm trying to remember the year. Liquid had some great starts, finishing second, but ultimately the bridesmaid, not the bride. Nice shot by Pino on rappel. Goodbye to Maya. Long range and timeout or not, things are not going well for Liquid in this round.
Yeah, not finding the success they had previously. They are going to open area, which is the first time they played this bomb site. Nice move from Resets. Gets it down onto Fantasy, which is huge. That was the death mark that was being placed onto Resets. Same time, Ass goes down too, though, so it's not exactly like it's going to be a big man advantage. Nade finishes it off, but that's really not going to be a huge difference maker. Resets and Diaz will need to lock things down on the bottom floor, but they've got 80 seconds to try to hold on for this 2v4. NIP have the defuse kit in their hands. They've still got loads of drones available to them. They've got soft breach charges in the hands of Pino to try to work some of that vertical pressure onto these open area positions. I mean, this is about as good as a push would get for NIP. They've got plenty of time, plenty of information, and plenty of resources to try to work some picks and then eventually go for this execute. Probably going to be an open area stock drop push, but they could also go towards front desk, and that does seem to be where Cons is at the moment. So actually could end up being a pushing through square. Really just does depend where they want to go with it.
Must feel like an eternity for Liquid fans with how slow this round has gone, and it's just a slow slide backwards. Down in the bomb site, Resets and Diaz will wait for the NIP players to show up. This could be a death drop here, as Resets was eyeing the hatch inside of open area. Silhouettes show us that NIP players are assembled over there. Oh my, Diaz had his attention elsewhere. Hates was completely silent, sneaking in. Resets is cooking up something. A quad kill for Resets. Pino now marching his way on in, and the reads will be there as Resets picks up an ace and somehow saves Liquid in the round.
Classic round coming out from Resets. He has long been the most clutch player on Team Liquid. 24% success rate in the clutch heading into this game, and now showing up big in the most important round for Liquid to be able to keep things close with NIP. Looked like an unlosable round. They had a 4v1 advantage. They knew where he was in the 4v1 too. They lost the first pick. Then the second player tries to pull out the nade. Not the right decision. Resets quick thinking to go for the swing. Ridiculous play coming out from the 22-year-old, the youngest player on Team Liquid, but no rookie when it comes to these high-pressure situations. What a ridiculous clutch coming through from open area. Zero fear in that round, and he gets the job done.
Didn't really think that's what we were going to see today. And I mean, with it, he might have just saved the first half for Team Liquid. Even with that, Team Liquid still look like indisputably the worst of these two teams. When aces happen, most of the time, you have to thank your opponents. In that round, Resets made a lot of that work himself, but he also benefited from them running through a very similar angle where he didn't really need to reposition and was relatively safe. Terrific play, frankly. NIP was also running behind on time. They had a numbers advantage. They were a little bit slow. I don't know if it was a lack of intel or what, but with, what was it, 30, 40 seconds left, there was only 2 players left on Team Liquid.
Yeah.
I think the team would be a bit quicker, but not come to pass.
I think clock or not, like, you have to trade out in a 1v4. You have to get one trade in a 1v4, right? Unfortunate the way it closed out.
They got a freebie on Diaz inside a small office. Like, he literally just walked in and just took him down. Like, that was it. It was so
tough. That's tough.
Yeah, it is.
Well, Parker, your favorite operator in the game, the Fuse Shield, has shown its face once again.
Save me.
It's not the first time Cons has played this operator. He likes to bring the Fuse Shield on this bomb site. It's something that he's shown in previous games this stage. Of course, NIP have played this a couple of times, including during their game against FaZe Clan, which is the last time we saw Cons rock this operator for the bottom floor. He likes to use those cluster charges to try to clear out some of the utility inside the site before he goes for the push. Got can openers as well to assist with the hard breach. They got 3 sets of those cans to pick up for the fact they didn't bring any primary hard breachers this round. So definitely got his fair share of utility on the fuse. Even if that shield isn't really going to be as effective as what you might see from a blitz or one of the band shields.
They managed to work their way into the building quite quickly, and they've changed things up with all of their approaches to this bottom floor bomb site. I like that they're taking a new approach every single time. I don't love the fuse shield. I'm trying to stay away from negativity. It's not good for my health. It's not good for my blood pressure. I suppose I could really add to it by being a fan of like DZ or like Team Liquid if I really hated myself and wanted my blood pressure to be through the roof.
You don't have to do that, Parker. We want you alive for these casts. I'm already half dead. We need you alive at least at 100%.
Ah, but the cough syrup is keeping you in check, so that's all that matters. I mean, I had my own cough syrup casting a couple weeks ago when I was like deathly ill with what I assume was COVID, but I tested negative multiple times, but it was a real doozy. All 10 players still alive. Cons was attempting a plant, but he's flushed out of his position by a mixture of gas canisters, fire from the Shunika launcher of Diaz. You can hear more of it go. Cons is just going to wait it out at this point, but I fear for the timing on the side of Nip. 40 seconds, 35 seconds now. Tries to back his way in just outside of the reach of the flames, but the lineup for Diaz is perfect. Fantasy getting very aggressive, very assertive, walking on in. He's good enough for a single kill, dropped by Nesk. And now it's Cons' opportunity. Diaz still has one in back pocket. That shield absorbing a lot of bullets. Liquid firing away, and now the diffuser has fallen through the clutches of Nip. Team Liquid with an advantage as Hates now circles around. He's last one standing. Liquid have been excellent at shutting them down, and it will continue to get better as they win the round and tie that first half. And the man on your screen on the right side right there resets. That's the savior of these first 6 rounds for Liquid. Without him, they are not here. He might have just saved not just the first half, but Liquid now going on to attack on bank here. Resets could have completely motivated this team for the remainder of this map. Liquid obviously want to finish this in 2 and not need Clubhouse as a decider.
Yeah, that ace from Recess in round 5 really turned the tides. He did have an opening death in round 6, but it didn't seem to matter because the util play was perfect from Liquid whilst that plant was trying to come down server. All the credit to Diaz and Ask, the brand new pickups for Liquid, as they just were able to stall out that plant over and over again. Cons had no chance of getting it on the ground. When you're playing against a Smoke Tachanka lineup, you have to go deep. You have to find a way to work picks, whether that's down through the main stairs, through gold, through elevator, or whether that's just by rushing through the bomb site, as Fantasy tried to do on the Deimos late in that round. But no matter what they tried, everybody on Team Liquid was ready for it. And plan A, I mean, it just really never had a chance trying to plant that defuse kit against a support player as good as Diaz or as good as Ask. That was really well put together from these 2 new pickups. They managed to hold things off. You said it, the 3v3 round, the 3v3 half split, and we'll get the next set of operator bans in. Kaid, a zombie being removed for the defenders. Those are probably the most popular bans to be seeing on bank. And then double shield. So this is kind of what I expected Team Liquid to ban up against NIP. NIP will take out the double shield instead. Also makes a lot of sense because Ask is playing a ton of the shield on this map. So I see logic in both sets of bans. Be another half where we see both Ace and Habana available, though, at least until the next set of bans.
I mean, really can't give enough credit to that Tachanka play as well. Being able to just keep the attackers from finding a safe spot. Destroyed Nip's execute. They had to scramble. That's why you saw Fantasy sprint through the smoke and through the flames to try to get something going, because they knew the time would just continue to be whittled down by these defenders on the side of Liquid. Diaz had the perfect lineup. Nip's entire focus was controlling hatches and pushing through the main door. There was no hit through garage. There was no presence back by vault. I know that we harp on linear executes from time to time, but if you know that there's a stall operator playing over by lockers, which is the case obviously with the Tachanka, there was a smoke there too, so there was 2 that you had to deal with. You need to spread your forces out. Nip just couldn't get it done. And sometimes you fall behind on the clock. You have to make your own luck. Fantasy tried that. He got a big pick, but that was all she wrote, and Stall continued to come out, which allowed Liquid to be aggressive in that spot. Really well played by them, but again, they must feel motivated and good from resets as ace. Their whole team looks like they got a shot in the arm from that one.
You know, an early fall off, and Neska's in the building, by the way, inside a vault. Do they have any clue he's here? It was loud on the Habana, but I don't think they know Parker.
How did Pino not hear that? He's probably stunned as Maya has now joined. Multiple players in. Down goes Fantasy at the hands of Nesk. Team Liquid looking like a team possessed at this current point in time. Down goes Resets. Nip looking for a swing back in numbers, but Maya is there to bail Nesk out of a bad spot. Nesk once again holding on to that diffuser, playing a more traditional role. Wizard eliminating Ask means that it's a difference of one player between these two. But any trades at this point, and it's over. Wizard had a big moment just seconds ago. There's 3 targets for Liquid that he'll have to find. Nesk getting diffuser down as Wizard backs away. A beautiful shot onto Maya. Looking for one more over towards gold. Can't get it done. It's Diaz to shut that down. The lead is Liquid's.
We started the day by asking maybe a controversial question if Nesk was getting a little too old for this thing, and certainly so far up until this game it has been the worst domestic stage of his career. But if there's one thing that all those years of playing professional Siege will do to you, it is give you the ability to read a defense, to give you that information, to be able to make those plays, see those gaps, and that's exactly what Nesk was able to do. Playing on that, Habana was able to find that there was just nobody that was going to watch him as he went in through gold. I love that round 7 rush from Team Liquid. Try to make sure that that first round can start off strong for you. It wasn't a rush that was just called for no reason. They had a lot of good drones that were finding Fantasy in open area, that were finding, I believe it was Pino inside the elevator. So they knew that a couple of players on NIP were holding towards top floor. Wizard, sorry, the Cons on the Clash, I should say, was also over towards server stairs. So there weren't very many players actually in the bomb site compared to when Liquid were holding that site where they had a lot of site players. So Liquid able to identify that gap, make the play. Nesk has that decision made. He goes for the plant, and it's really well executed by Nesk. Really opens things up, and then joined by his teammate too. That was a beautiful little push to come out. I think stunning NIP as they now lose the lead on their own map pick. Team Liquid perhaps looking to break the streak and win their first bank matchup in many months.
Those numbers were pretty damning, right? As it said that the Liquid core has never lost on layer with this new look, and then they have a terrible record on bank. They keep the first one intact by winning on layer, though it came awfully close to them losing that and the streak being over. Now they have to beat expectations, and that's not an easy thing to do. Again, both of these teams have battled consistency for quite some time. The roster changes that they've made suit both teams' play styles quite well. I like what Team Liquid has with Ask and Diaz on this roster, but it's always so hard to tell how much of this is teams not gelling well versus Brazil just being the most competitive region in Siege. It is the most dominant region in our esport, and it's also the most dominant region amongst each other. A team that finishes in, say, 4th in Brazil could very easily win a major, and nobody would be surprised in the slightest. So, all the 6 teams that made the playoffs and easily beat European teams, North American teams, APAC teams, and so on. Liquid could emerge here as the 4th team, as we saw W7M claim that 3rd spot earlier today, but Liquid's got a couple more rounds to win before they can confidently say they're top 4.
Ask wants to really get a death mark track on a Cons, but he's standing on a mute jammer, so he can't quite get it. Got really good information as to what's going on Janitor thanks to a drone, but they haven't been able to work a pick off of it just yet. Wizard in a strong position with the splash in the hallway. He's going to stall out the push, but Yes is in anyways.
Smoke going off, Diaz suffering through it. He's not doing so well, but he's managing to live for the time being. Oh my goodness, the last smoke does line up very well. Liquid on a go for broke strat, and guess what? Go broke is exactly what happens. Resets, whose all 5 kills came from that ace, is the last one up there, and look at how little damage has been done to these Nip players. Maybe, Jesse, 40 to 50 damage? That's it across all 5 players. A very one-sided round for Nip, and a miserable amount of offense on the side of Liquid. Does Nip win the round? tie us up.
There were some cool ideas in that push. I mentioned how Ask's job or his goal in that round was to deal with Cons inside a janitor from below, but Cons was standing on a mute jammer. He actually got resets to impact EMP, the mute jammer inside of janitor from the CEO windows, which allowed him to go for that death mark track, which almost got a pick onto Cons. He did a little bit damage to Cons through the floorboards, which would have changed the whole round, right? If the smoke goes down, then all of a sudden those toxic babes aren't there. DS is able to survive long enough to put the fuse kit on the ground. It's an entirely different ball game, but instead, Hates was able to make the play. He was playing over towards main stairs. He just rotated back down to open area and found Ask. That was actually the very first pick that happened in the chaos of that round, was Hates rotating down main stairs and killing Ask from below. If that whole series doesn't play out that way, if Ask is able to get the opening pick on a Cons instead of dying to Hates, I think we see a completely different round getting played in that one. But unfortunately for Team Liquid, it just was not meant to be. Some really good ideas in that push, but not quite able to string it together.
I think something that was said when we were doing the North America League that applies here because it's the same amount of games. It's that if you've made all these roster moves, as obviously Liquid has, and they've completely changed things up, you really don't have a lot of game days to put these things into motion, right? You can practice them, you can scrim them, but every team will tell you that scrims are not a proper substitution for real games. You need your game day reps. And teams here, Nip and Team Liquid, are not the top teams in the region. They have new looks, they have new rosters, they've swapped roles, they're dealing with a new game in its entirety. CJX might look like a very similar game on the surface level, but it does play a little bit differently. The teams will tell you that. So you have to get through your games. You have to take every single map by map, to build off of your success, to put those things that you dry run and you scrim and you practice into motion in a real match. And some players are very equipped to execute something in a scrim. They might have struggles and get those shakes on game day. You never really know. So both of these teams are going to learn as they go. I agree with you. I think we've seen some really good looks from both of these teams. I think both of them, win or lose, can walk away being happy with some of the things that have happened here. Unfortunately, one of the teams is going to walk away quite unhappy, as there's only one spot left to get into the top 4.
NIP running the same open area defense that they ran against FaZe a couple of weeks ago in the season. That was a round that was not too long ago, so Liquid might be able to read into this strategy. It is not the craziest strat of all time. It's a heavy roam up top with Fenrir and a Mozzie and a Legion, a lot of annoying gadgets to try to get past if you're Team Liquid, but they should still be ready for it nonetheless. Nesca started to make his entryway through the main floor, actually already just lurking inside of lobby, inside of ATMs. We'll see if he can work a pick later on, but the focus is obviously up on the top floor. Can Ask make the space on the Blackbeard? Can they find some players with these drones and then force them back with just the threat of BB running through? It seems like the answer is yes. Every player on NIP will drop back to the site and they will not engage even one body up on the top floor of Liquid.
I like Cons' position a lot. If he can be supported, he can do some serious damage to Liquid. Cross there, that rotate where Pino is sitting is being launched by Ask at this current point in time. Pino did look like he'd be there to support. No, Cons is not going to live too much longer in this position. He'll drop through the basement and go for a walk back up the staircase into the bomb site. Liquid set out all around the map, and they're not really finding all that much. They've only got 4 drones to their name, and they don't really have a wealth of time to continue droning, so everybody right now is still upright. I said I liked Cons' position before. I still like it, Jesse, as he's sitting on those stairs, but he'll be flushed out by resets as bees.
Gonna be chaos, Parker.
Absolutely, and Fantasy will shut down Ask. One of these teams will take the lead. Which one will it be? In keeping with the previous rounds, no team seems to dominate except for Nip, who crushes the advances of Team Liquid and almost gets a flawless round. It would have been another flawless that we've seen, as now Nip has the lead here. Team Liquid have already used their timeout. They had to use it maybe a bit too early, It worked when they did it. Motivated then by Reset's play, you saw Liquid on a tear, but Nip has been in the driver's seat over the last couple rounds. And what I said about teams winning consecutive rounds might seem foolish depending on what happens here. Last wave of operator bans come in and Ying is taken out along with Clash.
I like that last round. It was just good anchor play coming out from NIP. I mean, Pino and Wizard getting 2 unanswered kills sitting inside the bomb site. Time was very low for Liquid. They had no early advantage. They did have a lot of utility that didn't really get used in that push. We saw a couple smoke grenades on Nesk not getting used, a couple of frag grenades on Maya that didn't really get used, some hard breach on DS that maybe could have gotten some value over towards Square Wall. Didn't really see much impact there, but Square was never really a position that was safe for Team Liquid. So felt like they spent a lot of time not to really get a whole lot of ground. Never controlling the basement, never controlling Square, never controlling Tellers, really. So a little bit awkward of a push coming out from Liquid. They respond by banning out the Clash, as you mentioned, Parker. That was brought both on round 7 and 8. For basement, it was played by Cons to rock that server stairs position. And then for top floor, it was played by Wizard inside of the hallway, just between Stock and Janitor. So I like that ban from Liquid. I do think Clash is extremely strong here on Bank. NIP, of course, Ying ban. That was only brought for the top floor execute. That was not successful, but I think still with how good Ying can be in general on this map, I think it's a strong ban.
I mean, Ying makes attacking open area and that top floor bomb site a real or defending the open area and the bottom of the top floor bomb site a really miserable experience. And I know teams have said before that they don't like getting trapped into bringing a Warden. They don't want to get painted into the corner. I mean, Warden is a terrific operator, but he's an answer to a problem. He's not an operator you bring unless you think that the attackers are going to bring smokes, flashes, etc. that necessitate those smart glasses. He's a reaction. Whereas you've got other operators that are good in a more universal sense. Warden is a fine operator with an okay gun, but there's a lot more optimal picks you could bring. So if you ban out the Ying, you know they're not going to bring some of those smoker flash ops that come alongside a Ying. You don't need to bring a Warden as much. You can be flexible. You can have room to bring like a Tachanka or a Goyo or a Tubrao. Speaking of, this is a downstairs defense, and look at this like murderer's row of lineup that we see on the side of Nip. They've got the Goyo for the canisters, they've got the smoke to send out the gas, and then they've got the Tachanka as well as Evil Eyes from the Maestro. What is going on here? Nip have layer of redundancy after layer of redundancy, and it is going to be so annoying for Liquid to deal with.
Yeah, Hates was hiding through the prep phase as well, so they wouldn't know that there's going to be a Maestro on the field until they drone that late into this round. When there was no Brava being brought out, there are still a lot of nades. I think they have good answers to the Maestro anyways, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy to clear through. One thing that should be obvious to Team Liquid, now that they see exactly what operator lineup is in front of them, is that they cannot go for a simple server plant. If you don't manage to cause any chaos in the back lines, this plant is never going to go down. Unless Cons, Hates, Pino, Fantasy, or Wizard makes a huge mistake and doesn't stop the plant from going down server, it's not going to be successful for you. That's why you see Liquid moving around. They've got a lot of bodies towards the elevator hatch, a lot of bodies towards main stairs, and the gold hatch as well. This is a good push being set up by Liquid. They're very much aware that a server plant is not in the cards, so they're starting to rotate to these other angles in the map. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Some of this defensive util is being rotated too, but that's going to be the game plan for Team Liquid.
Yeah, I think your read is absolutely spot on here. If you just go for a direct attack through servers, you're going to get smoked for it. You're not going to have enough time. You've got that whole juggle where even with 3 gas canisters, you're looking at about 30 seconds. We're at 50 seconds to go, so you've got a lot to wait out. 20 seconds on each Goyo canister, and then the flames from a Tachanka, who still got 18 Molotovs in pocket, 2 gas canisters for Pino. If Liquid cannot sweep through the back portion of this bomb site, they are doomed here and will get absolutely buried by this Nip defense. And honestly, Jesse, I'm a little worried that that's exactly what we're seeing on the side of Liquid. Maya has decided to retreat, go for a takeover towards stairs. There is a belated push through garage. Hates tried this on attack for Nip. It did not work out. Now it looks like it's Resets who's going to be the one to do just that. Down goes Nesk, Ass taking a lot of damage. Resets finished off. Yep, Liquid are donezo. Stick a fork in them on this round. Maya almost got the diffuser down, and it's a flawless one. Of the last 3 rounds, Liquid have mustered, what, a single kill?
Yeah.
It is a brutal time to be a Liquid fan.
They really need to find some way to stop this momentum. Obviously, the attack timeout was already used by their coach earlier on, so that's not going to be an option for them. They seem to have the right read. They were moving things over towards the gold hatch, and they were moving players over towards the elevator hatch, and they did still have pressure that way. There were still players that were trying to push down main stairs, but in the end, they did just default for one of those pushes just from server. Ended up being a hatch drop instead of directly to the server door to try to get the defuse kit down, but you're never going to get a plant down versus a good team when they've got that much utility to stop your plants. Still could have worked out if their other players were able to win their duels, but in the end, I mean, the players that did go garage, the players that did go main stairs, all got clobbered on their gunfights. And I mean, that's a tough bomb site to crack. Certainly no easy task by Team Liquid, but still no good answers for the defense that NIP were setting up. That is 3 in a row, Parker. That's a perfect rotation. So it'll really be on Liquid to problem solve. You're going to go top floor for round 11, and if you win it, it'll be open area for round 12. Both bomb sites you have yet to win an attack on. You've got to be better in these next couple of rounds, but what does that look like if you're Team Liquid? What is your answer to some of these setups that we've been seeing? I'm just not sure.
I mean, if you consider the fact that resets might have broken Liquid for a round, or broken Nip for a round or 2, if you exclude his improbable ace clutch, this honestly could have been a 7-2 victory for Nip, and we could already be in the process of moving towards Clubhouse. I mean, I did talk up both of the teams earlier. Liquid won a very scrappy first map, 8-7, and honestly, they have had some moments where they've completely fallen apart here on Bank. They barely win their map, they get blown out on Bank, and then what happens on Clubhouse? It's anybody's guess. But no matter what happens, if Nip is able to escape this map right now, a 7-4 scoreline, then I worry about Liquid's chances. Nip have absolutely earned this lead, and they are fighting to protect it.
Yeah, I mean, in this series, Lair was the easy part, and that was barely going the way of Liquid, so you're absolutely right, Parker. 2 in a row, you need to win now if you want to be able to push this to overtime. 2-0 still very much in the cards, even though it would take a big turnaround from the way Liquid have been playing. Gonna be another window push from Team Liquid. They've got the Bees being held by resets. They've got Ask on this Blackbeard to try to make some chaos as they go through. Big focus on Stalk as well. They couldn't really push this part of the map previously because of the clash that was being played, I believe, by Wizard. Now that clash not going to be in the field, so he has to go over to the Warden instead, where he's still holding down a similar position, but now just thanks to that deployable shield. Smoke being used, and this is still not easy. Stalk jumping being held by Wizard, Janitor still being held by Cons as well. If they have good chemistry, that could be big, but there's the pick. That is exactly what Liquid wanted.
Yeah, and immediately Maya's tossed right out of the building. Maya's been having a rough game. Resets is also down for the count. Yokai Drone will spot Nesk, so at least one more player on Liquid is being watched by Nip. Bates was in a very bad position. Khan slaughters Nesk, and I just think this one is over. It is going to be mighty hard for Team Liquid to bail themselves out of this position. The 4 remaining players on Nip, all at full HP. Only 1 kill through this round. Ask in a precarious position atop of the stairs, and he's going to get chewed away at from Pino. Of the last 4 rounds, Liquid mustered 2 kills. What a masterclass of defense by Ninjas in Pyjamas as they win map number 2 and send us to map number 3, Clubhouse.
You know, there are high expectations for them because everybody that's left this team has gone on to do great things. Paulu left this team just a couple of weeks ago and now has immediately qualified for top 4 in the SAL. We saw that just a couple hours back. Then we saw Lagonis leave this team, going to coach Wildcard, and then bring that team to heights that they have never experienced before in their organization's history. And now, of course, we see Hugzord as well, the former coach of Team Liquid, go down to Southeast Asia, head coach of Elevate. They'll be playing for a land spot tonight in an oh-so-important game to be able to make sure that they can lock in that spot to be one of the best teams in the world. So everybody who's left Team Liquid has gone on to have some level of success, even if Lagonis didn't quite qualify to get top 4 in North
Attackers
America.
need to locate and
There's a
defuse
lot of
as
pressure
many
on
bombs
Liquid
as
to
they
do the
can.
same. If they don't, people are going to look at that roster move. They're going to look at the team that Liquid have right now, and they're going to think, was it worth it? Why was this change being made? For NIP, I think pressure's off. Obviously, there's a lot of young players on this team that would love to make a LAN appearance. Hate's still looking for his Tier 1 LAN event debut, of course, ignoring the domestic LANs that we have down there in Sao Paulo. We've got Fantasy, who's itching to make it back to an event, as he hasn't been in a very long time. Wizard as well, looking to make it back. So we've got a lot of bodies on NIP that would love to make that trek, but the pressure is on Liquid here, as it has been all season long.
I very briefly was turning back over and I saw like the ponytail of Fantasy's Azami, and I was like, wait, is that Cap? And I was like, no. I just was so itching for a Caveira to show up.
You're praying.
Yeah, I was praying for a Caveira. I absolutely was. You're spot on with that. I mean, I do enjoy the operator quite a lot, and I think I think she brings some excitement and some spark to the matches. So anyway, let's get underway. Very common operators. Nothing really jumps out to me at this current point in time. Team Liquid have been doing their best FaZe Clan impression by bringing the recruit operators quite regularly so far. It'll be Nesk now running Striker as Breach did not get opened up. Is that my eyes mistaking me?
I thought it was open. I honestly was looking at my notes, so I could have missed that, but
I saw Ask put down the secondary can opener, but unfortunately the spectator swapped off of it literally right as it was. But okay, there it did get opened up. I was waiting for the sound. I didn't hear it. I'm getting old. Maybe my ears just aren't as good, Jesse.
I was about to say the exact same thing. They're jumping in top floor now. The goal was to clear out Hates, but he's immediately rushing right back to the bomb site. That goo mine slowing down Maya just enough for him to make it down through Oil Pit and return to the site. That is about as perfect as a fake roam as you can get for NIP. They didn't want to commit to getting gunfights. They didn't want to commit to actually dueling the players of Team Liquid, but they wasted still so much time. Usually on Clubhouse, you do one or the other. You roam and you commit to taking gunfights, or you stay all in the bomb site and you're hoping just to slow down some time, and then you're going to have 5 players alive for the execute. But NIP have kind of gotten away with the best of both worlds, delaying nearly 90 seconds on the top floor roam and losing nobody. Tickle of damage on a Fantasy will be the only thing that is removed from them, but Liquid a lot of work to do now. They've got not a whole lot of time to start opening these hatches, start opening the floorboards with the ram. I like their pacing so far with this. They have managed to do a good job of opening things up, but finding these last couple kills is going to be really awkward, especially with Wizards still playing here on the Clash.
Wizards been isolated by that flame arrow, that firebolt getting fired on down in. Nesk is waiting for somebody to make a misstep over by Blue so that he can punish them. I think Fantasy's the one who's staring in that direction. Still one fire arrow remaining for Ask as they attempt to once again dislodge this Clash, who's now been moved out of a bad situation. Fantasy's been pinched. Very well done by Liquid to get that kill, but it's Nip who actually gets on the board first. Ask dies as well, and suddenly Nip have got themselves in a great spot. It looked like Liquid would be able to get some control here over on Blue, but it is not working out effectively. While Nesk has Wizard's attention, that leaves Cons as last man standing. Liquid needs to get that diffuser down. Maya will attempt that. Where is Cons to shut this one down? Nesk finally dies. Maya, the only one keeping this round alive. He will successfully get the diffuser down. Time for Cons to get Fantasy back from the dead, and what a perplexing round we are witnessing. Diaz will now need to watch over this entire bomb site. He's all on his own. Diffuser will not help him in the slightest. The Clash of Wizard, who was unable to be dealt with by Nesk, gets in on the action. Fantasy has no problem with it, and an absolutely baffling 3.5 minutes comes to an end with Nip victorious.
You know, Parker, it wasn't a clean round. It wasn't necessarily pretty, but I thought that Wizard played some fantastic Clash in that previous round. all too often, even at a pro level, we'll see Clash players put down the shield way too early, commit to making swings by themselves way too early. Through the whole round, Wizard was playing Clash as a team-focused operator. I feel not enough pro teams are running the operator in this way. I think South American teams do it the best, where Wizard is relying on his teammates to make those swings instead of bringing out the gun himself. You saw that initially when he was playing down below, being a big distraction, and Fantasy went for a swing. Now Fantasy got taken out and downed in the process, so it wasn't a huge kill for him there. But then playing around Hates, allowing Hates to make that swing out from behind the Clash on the Legion, so that the Clash doesn't have to put her shield down and make herself vulnerable. Then, when does the gun actually come out? Well, it only happens once the last player on Team Liquid is no longer paying attention. Wizard doesn't swap to the gun until Nesk is decided it's not worth his time, and then he just shoots Nesk in the back of the head. I thought that was really well played by Wizard on the Clash. Sometimes you do see this operator struggle. I know Pengu has talked a lot about this on Twitter and in private group chats, where sometimes it feels like the Clash is not having a big impact because she's putting on the shield in bad spots, frankly. But I thought Wizard played that really perfectly and got the most out of Siege's most recently reworked operator.
I mean, if it works, why not bring it again? Cons has been loving these shield operators all day. Clash was an obstacle that was tough to deal with. I really did want to give some credit to Liquid there for the way that they were able to move that Clash into the nade, into the fire arrow, but I mean, Cons, they endured. Now Cons will have an opportunity to continue on some great Clash play. Hates shutting down Ask. That's the Deimos, who's accomplished very little in this round. Only 40 seconds in, and you're already down by one. I mean, if you're Nip and you start to run away with Clubhouse, then you just look back on map number 1 and go, we were a round away. We could have easily done this before we got to Clubhouse. We were objectively the better team. Boy, what a disappointing stage it would be for Liquid. They had such a rough start. They were in dead last. They looked like they just wouldn't be able to recover. They found it. They got into the top 6. To potentially fall short in a clutch third map would be devastating for them and their fans. Oh, Wizard almost dies there, Jesse. What? That is a tight spot to be in. Resets is looking for more.
Still playing it really well, though, and as the barbed wire gives away Reset's position, Wizard will get 2 big kills. They line up as he finds Nesk right after Resets goes down. Now it's a 4v2 advantage for NIP.
Just kind of hopeless here. Once again, the Clash proving to be too difficult. Nesk was the player that Desk talked about would need a big game from. He struggled in that previous round. This time, there's a bevy of players dealing with the Clash, and none of them in a positive direction. 2 in a row for Nip as Cons gets the final kill after shedding the Clash shield.
There was a game early on in the North America League between OXG and Cruelty. You and I were casting this game, and it was all in Clubhouse, and Cruelty were on the defense. And round after round, Oxygen could not find an answer to the Clash. It felt like they were constantly getting slowed, constantly not able to work a pick, and always it felt like Team Cruelty were completely oppressing Oxygen because they just couldn't get past this Clash. After I believe that was the second half, so after round 9, OXG were able to ban the Clash, then they went on to win every single attacking round on Clubhouse and win that game. So I do wonder if things might turn around for Team Liquid if they can ban the Clash after round 3. But even still, you do not want to go down with a 3-round deficit on a do-or-die game. You're playing here on Clubhouse, a map that Liquid have historically struggled on. They're on a 3-game losing streak on Club. 2 of those games were with the current roster on this season versus Secret and Furia, although admittedly, both of those losses were very close. This is still a map you cannot afford to lose. Struggles with the Clash through the first 2 rounds, and it will be a factor here in round 3 as well. I imagine it will get banned after this round, but even still, if they can't get at least 1 round versus the Clash, they're in a really rocky position so early on this club game.
You certainly don't make it easy, Jesse. Not at all. I mean, it is Clubhouse. It is usually a defender fortress. It's pretty close to 50-50 at this current point in time. 79 rounds have been played here heading into today, and it's 53% of the rounds won by the defenders, so not a massive difference. Really close to a coin flip. If Nip can emerge 4-2. It does concern me a little bit for Liquid, but Liquid will go on to the ever so slightly better side in this second half. I think what concerns me most about this being a competitive game is Liquid's collapse that keeps happening. I mean, they fell apart on bank. They have really not shown a great look. There was some desperate attempts keeping it in this. Oh, there we go. All right, we'll get a great view of Clubhouse. I'm not sure what's going on here, but Desk is the first to die. I fear that the Desk might have cursed him as he's 0-3 so far.
Yeah, one of 3 players on Team Liquid who have yet to find a kill in this game. Still early, but that's not really what you would like to be seeing if you're a Team Liquid fan. They'll start to work on this jacuzzi wall now, and there could be a freebie pick or even a death as Hates perfectly predicting what Diaz might do, and he's got a free angle onto the Maverick. That's devastating. They have no more exothermic charges on Ask either, so that wall will stay closed for the entire rest of the round. Massive positional advantage for NIP, massive man advantage for NIP as well. They find one back on a Pino, but what's it really going to be worth?
I mean, you just trade at this point. Nip just needs to play relatively safe in the site. Resets has no utility whatsoever, neither does Ask. They have 1 kill between the 2 of them, and there's a clash on the board. I mean, if you're Team Liquid and you don't ban out the clash here, I really don't have any words. I mean, this is a no-brainer. This clash has been the main impediment for your attacks, and you cannot bring enough ops to deal with it. Resets on low HP now as well, as things are not, I assume, going to get much better for Team Liquid here. We've got a shotgun aimed at Resets. Very little remains of him. Ask will be the one to run in on first, and Wizard and Cons will shut him down. Nip very firmly in control of this map. 3-0, what a start.
Does not get much worse than that for Team Liquid. First quarter down, really nothing to show for it. Throughout those first 3 rounds, they got just 6 kills, I should say. 2 of their players now still on donuts. That round, to be fair, I don't think the clash was the problem. Lost an opening duel to Fantasy on a really nice long angle, removing Nesk from the server. Nesk might be old, but is still playing in that entry position, so he's got to be able to get some of those early picks. Lost the opening duel to Fantasy, the young gunner from NIP, and then just unfortunate was going down with Diaz. I mean, kind of an annoying position for Hates to be playing in, if we're being honest with ourselves, but sometimes playing like that is exactly what you need to do. Another early tack timeout called by Tysus to try to bring his team back into this game. I would love to know what the off bans ended up being. I would be shocked if it wasn't a clash being banned by Team Liquid. On the other side, if you're NIP, I'm not sure any operator's been like a huge issue for you. The first 3 rounds, Team Liquid have brought, they brought a lot of Hibana, could be a great ban on Clubhouse. They brought a bit of Capitao, they brought a bit of Deimos, they brought a bit of Grim as well, could be a good ban, but I would, if I have to pick a guess, I would say some kind of a hard breacher, but they've really got all the choices in the world, and it will be Hibana Clash.
You're right.
Thanks.
I mean, if they didn't ban the clash, I probably just would have put down my headset and walked away at that point in time. I mean, you have watched in real time as Clash dominated you in round number 1. You had no real answers for in round number 2. I mean, the Clash wasn't really the big issue in round number 2. In round number 2, frankly, the whole team kind of just caved in.
Yeah.
But you're slow on this map. It is a big map. Again, all 3 of the maps that these teams have played today are very large maps. They are very challenging to attack on. Defenders have been able to just kind of sit and rest easy. Despite that, the teams have been alternating between being more stalwart or a bit more aggressive and in your face as defenders. I mean, the Clash is just going to enable a style of play that nobody really enjoys. You're going to get slowed down. You can't really deal with her as long as she keeps her shield up. She gets stronger the less there are of you and the more there are of them. So if you're in a 2v4 and one of those 4 is a Clash, meaning she has 3 teammates around her, those 2 players on attack are just going to have such a miserable time. Get rid of her. And now hopefully Liquid will be able to take off. If Liquid lose this round, I think then we can begin to diagnose, or at least have a better diagnosis of what's going on here and know that Clash wasn't the only thing wrong.
Hates is currently ratting in stock. We saw his POV just briefly. He is, I don't know his exact position, but he's staring at a couple of boxes. This is one of those I'm going to tilt you type of plays. If this doesn't get droned by Team Liquid, that's going to be a massive mental hit to the rest of these rounds. And so I think this is why Hates wants to go for it. It should be an easy drone and clear, but Parker Diaz is working some utility inside a bar, and they don't seem to have any idea of Hates' position. This should be a freebie, and it might just tilt them off the face of the planet.
My poor ask. It's a green on green battle as the Goyo takes down Capitao. Diaz will answer back, he himself. With green on all of his guns, he uses the yellow universal skin and the green housing attachment to look like the flag of Brazil and has been doing so for quite a while. Literally on every single gun. I don't know if people have noticed this. I'm sure people with a better set of eyes have. A good answer back, but I mean the damage is done at this point. Capitao is such an integral part of pulling off and execute on the basement that without him, it will be mighty challenging. You didn't go with a traditional hard breacher. You went with more utility, and then you brought that secondary heart breach gadget to cover it. You've got some fragging potential, you've got some soft destruction, but you needed that concealment of the smokes, and you needed the area denial of the Capitao. Both of those things have now disappeared because Ask is off the board.
Push could come early, Parker. Cons needs to be really careful with these toxic babes because they might get all used up early, and then he might just be a sitting duck as they push in through church.
Nitro Cell will go down, but it's pulled a bit too early. Liquid can survive because of that. Focus over on blue was so strong back in round number 1. Will we see a repeat here? Nask won't be bottled up in that area. Cons is finished off by resets. So now Wizard has a shotgun out. Nesk is still fighting over towards blue, right back where we began in round number 1. Difference here, though, is Nesk can actually hit the targets if there's no shield in their way. Pino on the Warden swinging around, a nice play, and he'll flex over towards Church as Fantasy's in on the board as well. Diaz gets Diffuser down, tucked into the corner, and Pino will need to clutch out. Liquid's best look so far. Nitro Cell going out, but Diaz gets him before it can blow up. Good decision-making on the side of Liquid, and they finally get a round in the win column. They were so desperate for it. The lead still 2 rounds. Yep, in the driver's seat.
Diaz continuing to show his worth in these late rounds. Good plant spot, kind of caught Fantasy off guard. Didn't know where to look after he vaulted, after he did the vault through the church breach. And then Pino, I think if he just plays passive, he probably gets a free Nitro kill there, forces it to a 1v1. I still take Maya in that engagement. I think he's got a little bit of a better position, but it would be pretty close. End of the day, Diaz is better though and hits some really nice shots in that round to get Liquid on the board. Lack of the clash absolutely made a difference down inside of blue. So that was a really big game changer, I think, for Team Liquid. You were certainly a little worried when Hates got away with that ridiculous play, but what matters, you got the trade, you kept it into a 4v4, and you didn't let it tilt you, right? I mean, Team Liquid still put together a really good execute. They were very fast to get into the hallway, to get into Moto, and then they were able to waste a lot of those toxic babes. Had the Deimos track onto the smoke as well. It's something I mentioned right before that push was that Cons might be a bit of a sitting duck with how fast that push was coming in, and that's exactly what happened. Cons going down and the blue player dying as well. Team Liquid put together a pretty good push despite the fact they didn't have that Capitao on the board. I think one of the main criticisms the desk had of Team Liquid coming into this game was that they've been a bit readable throughout this series. Whilst they have been slow and they've been putting together some nice pushes, NIP have very often been really effective at understanding where those pushes would come from. That's not necessarily changed here on Clubhouse for the most part, but if Liquid can continue to use this time well and to put together good pushes, it might not matter if they're being read by NIP.
Haven't really seen much out of Ying in terms of prowess in this particular best of 3. I know she's been banned a couple times, and you did riff on her abilities on Bank. We both touched upon how strong she can be on a map like Bank. We'll finally get a good look at it now is well, providing Ask can actually live to see the day. That's the bigger if. Ask has been an early casualty too many times for Liquid. Going to be playing a very crucial op. Ability to paralyze the defenders is good. There's a Jaeger on the board whose pick rate in Brazil has not been very high in comparison to other regions. First kill is going to come out to Maya. Down goes Pino. The castle is no more. Most of those castles should still be up though, so hopefully you haven't lost a lot of gadgetry.
Fantasy itching for a refrag. It won't be a technical trade. Oh, that's your teammate. Okay. Itching for a kill, as I mentioned. I mean, he knows how important it is to get one back at least. Fire grenade just missing Cons. That one will hit though, and he has to back off this retreat. will give a little bit more space to Team Liquid. Fantasy unsuccessful in trading out his teammate of Pino, so they just have to give up more and more ground. It'll be Cons who's in the death spot. He either dies or he gets out of here with a kill, but no, retreats back.
And they trade out. Ask with 1 kill, but that's all she wrote. We won't really get to see the Ying. We keep jinxing it. I fear that the caster curse is doing some damage here. That wizard lurking down below. Liquid in a rare position. They actually have a lead in numbers at the moment. They've been trailing through so much of this series and so much of this particular map that, well, you find yourself in a spot that you just have to ride it out. 35 seconds now. Where is Diaz going to walk this diffuser on in? Esk is still outside the building, searching for something more than the single kill to his name. There's utility on the side of Team Liquid. 1 Rotero drone. Capitao still mostly well-equipped, barring the 1 fire arrow that had been used earlier. Nip is expecting a push towards the main breach, so Hates has been positioned over there. Flash is going over top. Hates is punished for his engagement. Wizard comes to the rescue. His 7th kill is found. My goodness, he cuts through all of them. Diaz now attempting the plant. Maya will watch over top of that. Wizard in a very daunting position, taking care of Maya, and he's home free to get the final 2 kills. Again, he makes magic happen, and Nip extend their lead.
And what a play by Wizard. Jeez, that should have been easily a Team Liquid round. They had the early man advantage, but once again, what do? They push slow, they push steady, they push predictably. Wizard's initial focus was on the breach player because he knew if that was a double dimension push, if they had 2 different angles into the bomb site, it was going to be no hope of clutching that one out. So he kills the breach player first, takes a risk with that swing, and then answers back to find those last couple of players. Wizard was the lowest rated player in their previous map before this series up against FaZe Clan, going just 4 and 8. Now in the most important map that they have played so far this season, Wizard is sitting at 9 and 2. He's been the difference maker for NIP to help them launch themselves up to 4 and 1. Even without the clash, Wizard's being able to do so much for his team. I would argue he's had more impact than what the stat sheet even says because of how good he was in that first round on the clash. He's just been absolutely phenomenal. He's turning on when it matters the most. He wants to make it back to a LAN event, and now they are over halfway there. Just 3 more rounds needed on Clubhouse.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but I go all the way back to that very first series where in round 15, Liquid toppled Nip. If any of those rounds go different, this is a 2-0, and we are, I don't know, not here on the broadcast doing whatever we would do in our regular lives, and we would know our 4th team that has qualified. Again, for those that might just be tuning into the broadcast, this is for the very final spot in the top 4 of the South America League. We are down in the lower bracket quarterfinals. Earlier today, W7M, the #1 rated team in the region through group stages, toppled Black Dragons 2-0. Every single series up to this point through the playoffs have been 2-0s. This is the first map 3 in the South America League. Well, it's been a competitive one. It has been up and down. It's been unpredictable. 2 teams with a long history of consistency issues are now finding out which one of them can stick the landing. Nip has looked like the superior team throughout the series, and yet here we are on map 3. Final round of the first half. Nip would love a 5-1.
Gonna clear out this cash extension at the moment for Team Liquid. In their last game against Furia on Clubhouse, they had 7 attempted defenses. They were successful just once with 6 defensive losses, so a 4-2 is necessary, but it's not happening. Cons and Fantasy open up the kills with 2 big ones on Anesk and Maya. Now this push is completely crumbling Parker. Resets goes down 2, leaving just Ask and Diaz in the 2v5.
This feels like the tail end of the previous map where Liquid couldn't even buy a kill. It's 1 frag for Ask. The only player so far from Nip who has yet to survive the round. He will have good company though. Fantasy and Wizard, the 2 top frags. Hates is tied with Fantasy, but 1 minute to go. I mean, Ask's position over on top red stairs is very well known here. A 5-1 first half is not impossible to overcome, but with the way Nip has looked over the last hour and a half, do you have money on them getting more than, say, 3 or 4 rounds? It's far from a sure bet. A 5-1 first half. The Ninjas are just getting away with everything, and Liquid are not punishing any mistakes.
I don't know what more there is to say, Parker. Team Liquid are looking frozen solid in this series, down 5-1 now against NIP. 14% defensive win rate on Clubhouse through the one game they've played this stage. On the bright side, NIP's attacking win rate is also quite bad on Clubhouse, 29% through their one and only game this stage. But I mean, I feel like the momentum speaks a lot louder than the statistics right now, Parker. In moments like these, when everything is on the line, when it's do or die, it's not going to be the stats that make the difference in a game like this. It's going to be who really has it, who can get their team back into it, who's got real leadership on their squad. And you have to imagine that should be Liquid. Ask has been an IGL for some of the best teams in South America. He's worked with this Liquid squad for a long time. Nesk is maybe the greatest South American player we've ever seen. If you go back through his whole history, I mean, he's been here since the beginning, and often he's been the best.
To me, he's the best, by the way.
I appreciate that. I'm sure he does too. But right now, he looks like he's worse than Fantasy on all fronts. Looks like he's getting slammed by Pino, despite Pino only going 2-5. NIP have been the team that have really been looking far more solid throughout the entire series today. They need just 2 successful attacks on Clubhouse. That means they could go back-to-back on Tertiary. It means they could go right here with a top floor and basement attack back-to-back. Got a lot of options on how they could win this game. Team Liquid can't say the same.
If you had to ask me the best player to ever play this game in Brazil, it's Nesk. If you were to do, you know, the top 4, you know, they talk about Mount Rushmore. Your thoughts on the actual Mount Rushmore are not really relevant right now. But
okay,
if you had not yours in particular, I just mean people in general.
Oh.
I mean, to me, the one player I'm picking from Brazil historically is Nesk. Is he the has he won the most? No. Has he had the most success? No. But his consistency, his relevancy, and his ability to do battle with every region at a top level is second to none. And he's done it on some real bad teams, let's be completely frank. Nesk just being on a team alone makes them competitive. Liquid might need to find him a different supporting cast. First pick goes to Nip, but Liquid answer right back. Maya and Cons both in the dirt at the moment. All of this happens in the first 45 seconds, and it's a brisk affair from Nip as you can hear those Candelas continuing to go off. Wizard has expended half of his stockpile at this point. Maybe back to the drawing board. Maybe just a quick burst of action, get a kill, maybe look for more. You come up empty-handed, okay. Realize that you've got a bit more work to be done to get to this bottom floor bomb site.
You speak of the devil. Nesk has the biggest decision to make of all. Does he rotate back to site, or is he going to make a play? He's just to go back to site, down through oil pit to blue, which is being held by his team, so he's not going to risk this. He knows better than to risk everything on just one successful flank. NIP didn't drone him out, but they also knew that they didn't fully drone the top floor, so NIP would have been aware that there could have been a roamer on that top floor. They will now, late in the round, go for a clear and a fast push on a main stairs from Fantasy is hoping to take down Ask, but Ask retreats with good pace. Nitro doesn't claim much. A minute 20 on the clock, and Fantasy. How is that a headshot?
Through the smoke as well. Ask hit the fadeaway with that Nitro cell popping the smoke at the bottom of the stairs as well, and Fantasy gets a fantastic or lucky read through it. Liquid now will suffer down a man because of that. A frustrating situation, assuredly, for Liquid. And Nipper just a few players away from a 6-1 scoreline, something that seemed unheard of when we were in map number 1, with how bitterly fought these two maps have been. You have to expect Liquid were expecting more out of themselves, but they are coming up short at the most important part of this best of 3. Fantasy will get buried on the stairs, and suddenly we are back to a 3v3. Stall potential now from Nip is accelerating. They will lose Wizard, and Team Liquid need to close this gap in a hurry. Nesk trying to crawl away, maybe giving information. He will be shut down. Diaz and Resets are the last two standing for Liquid up against Pino and Hates. Diffuser in the hands of Hates. Should he try to get the plan down in the next 10 seconds, it'll be all up to Pino to cover, who does just that. Hates doesn't like his read on the situation. You have an idea of where one of these players are, but what about the other? Pino dusted off by Resets. Hates firing away. He gets downed, but the time will ultimately give the round to Team Liquid as they pick up their second, and the gap does start to close, but still quite a nice lead that Nip has.
For as beautiful as a shot as it was from Fantasy, he was the primary hard breach in that round. And I gotta say, Parker, the breach on Church Wall just was not good enough. They had a couple of angles in, but those angles were quickly patched up by Nesk on the Azami. From that point on, they didn't really have a good way. As soon as Wizard died with that last can opener, they didn't have a good way to breach the church walls. So when they had the defuse kit inside a Moto, where were they supposed to go? The Moto door was super exposed to Kiba angles from Nesk, and at the same time, very predictable. So they try to go through the Ash Wall to try to make a plant happen armory. I think that was the right decision at the end of the day from NIP, but still not an easy plant to pull off. Credit to Team Liquid. That was a really nice job of stalling things out, not panicking once that initial push came in, forcing NIP to fall to a backup plan. I think you go back to Nesk and think, you know, if he goes for that flank, down through rafters, in through lobby, and through lounge, if he gets cleared out, then he goes down. It's a man advantage for NIP. It could be a completely different round, but it's that patience, it's that veterancy that allows him to rotate back to the bomb site, have huge impacts late round, to get a couple of kills. Really do make the difference in that. Still not a close game, but I mean, it starts with one.
Every comeback starts with a single round, and I know that's cliche, and I know some people might roll their eyes when we say stuff like that, but it is very true. Team Liquid wants to be able to pull off one of the more improbable comebacks that we have seen in any regional league so far this stage. They have to start somewhere. That previous round was kind of messy and doesn't inspire as much confidence as I'm sure Liquid would like, but it's still a round, and you're going to win some ugly, scrappy rounds on the way to tying things up.
Entry player, Nesk in a very aggressive position, as you expect to see him. Playing relatively solo. Maya's inside of Cash as well, so that's kind of the duo to try to hold down this extension in towards Cash. Construction holds resets and Ask, but still an awkward fight to take. Fantasy loses the vert angle. Nesk gets one and backs right out. Good reinforcement to close off the red stairs, and now they can continue to play inside of Cash, especially with Maya being on the two-brow. They can waste so much time after getting that opening pick. They should feel really happy about where they're at. They will fall back, and that's caught on a drone from Hate, so good information gathering being done by NIP. But even still, that's a massive pick on the main fragger of NIP. He wastes really good time.
Hate's picking off Nesk through the hatch as Nesk had decided to do battle with the attackers. In Logi, I don't know if I love that play, but if Nesk felt that was the only way out of his situation, then you got to go down swinging, and that's exactly what Nesk will do. Kind of unjustly compared him to Pino, which I thought was a bit rude with the way that they play their roles. I mean, Nesk should certainly be doing better. I know what you were trying to do, but Nesk's 4 and 8 is quite dreadful, and in fact is actually the worst in the entire lobby at the moment. Nesk being the lowest rated player on your team and in the game, that is unideal for Team Liquid. Though we do stand at a 4v4, easily winnable for both teams.
NIP have 45 seconds to try to work something. They've got some still utility to be used. Cons is going to be the main focus, with one fire arrow going out to move the clash and the smokes to enable the plants.
There, the flashes will go off, completely blinding these defenders. Cons will now die as the guns from Team Liquid are finding their marks. Hates will answer back. A second for Hates now. He's the offense at this current point in time for Nip. Wizard holds on to that diffuser. Another for Hates. A third. Could a fourth be found? No, he's put in the ground. Wizard with one, and now Pino and Resets will find themselves in a 1v1. Resets needs to play the clock, but Pino walks up and finishes the round for Nip. Playoff point for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
You might not like the comparison to Nesk, but Pino certainly can show up when he's needed. This guy's been on NIP for nearly 7 years. This qualified to over 12 S-tier events, an SI champion. He's made almost $500,000 in estimated solo prize money. This guy has been around the block. He knows how to play in those tense situations, and he gets the job done in the 1v1, catching down that final Azami, not hesitating even for a moment. Big round from Hates, obviously, catching Nesk on the Logi hatch. He did question that gunfight. I would echo that question, whereas Nesk probably didn't need to take that fight. Then he goes to construction, finds some really big picks. His position is just not being watched by Team Liquid. Things start to get a little bit messy at the end, but it doesn't seem to matter as NIP are able to hold out with Pino winning the 1v1, 6-2 now. They just need to win one round in the next 4. They will lock down a spot, top 4 in the SAL.
all of these orgs, legends of the scene, Furia, FaZe Clan, and W7M, all in the top 4 at the current moment. And there's no rest for the weary here. We'll be back in action tomorrow. For those that are curious, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern, so whatever that time is for you locally, Furia and FaZe Clan will be in action, and then we will conclude the day tomorrow with that lower bracket semifinal and then the lower bracket final. 3 games tomorrow. Jesse and I will not be voicing any of the action. We have the day off, but we'll be back on Sunday to go through the grand final to see which team sits atop the region.
If I'm alive.
Well, we hope you are. I hope you are.
Thank you.
So it might be the nicest thing I've ever said to you.
Yeah, I would say that's probably right. You would hope that I'm alive in 2 days.
I think so.
Team Liquid trying to stay alive. Diaz is going to be roaming on this bottom floor. You saw that red ping. He's over here on the red stairs. Hasn't really moved. Now moving up the staircase. So he's got Maya with him. If Maya can do some distracting on that clash, it could definitely open up Diaz for a pick. But with his position being known, they should be ready for that play. Fantasy on the other shield. Shield v shield on the red stairs. Well, meanwhile, there's still a lot of action happening on the main breach. Looks like Maya's going to decide to leave that position and ask with a rotate. Could be going for a bit of a peek from this gym bedroom window.
I mean, all Nip needs to do at this current point in time is just stick to the plan. They've been boxing Team Liquid out just about every step of the way. Drone, gain information, use your utility well, and that's what Nip has been doing. Not to mention the fact that Nip's guns have just been a little bit better, but hold on a second, Nesk still's got that dog in him. Pick on Nahates, but then answered back by Nip, who finds 2. Ask over by Billiards, playing with that DMR, gunning down Cons, puts us back to a 3v3. The clash that was such an obstacle for Nip in that first half will now appear in their hands as Maya will pilot the operator. Very limited HP, but still holding onto that shield and still alive. Still able to do some serious damage.
Elephant in the room is that main wall. Pino is out on the breach, but he cannot enter unless they manage to open up a little bit more. It looks like they have, but it was messy. So when they convert it to a plant, that's a huge pick onto the Blackbeard.
Ask is having a sensational game through this round. 6 kills on his roll. You should not see Ask towards the top of Liquid, but yet he is. The clash of Maya slowing down Pino. He's got information. He'll feed that to Diaz and Ask. What a shot by Pino. Ask finds yet another. A quad kill could be on the board here. Pino's running out of time. I think that's the greater issue. Only a couple seconds left for him to pull this one off. Diaz with a super shorty out keeps Liquid alive. Every comeback starts with 1, Jesse.
That it does, Parker. And this comeback is starting with Ask. What ridiculous positioning that was. The foresight to go over towards gym, over towards bedroom, and start working the windows. Didn't immediately get a pick, but he managed to really slow down NIP. He got in their heads. He gave them something to worry about. Whilst NIP were struggling with the main wall and were focused on getting the garage breach, they had to worry about this guy that was playing the windows up on the top floor on the other side of the map. And he did cause a bit of a pause from NIP. He slowed them down for a little bit, and eventually he went back down to the billiards window and got that massive pick off, which really did start to turn things around for Team Liquid. Had the late round pick on the Blackbeard as well, which was absolutely critical. Didn't see great clash play coming out in that previous round, but it still does receive a ban, so respect being paid by NIP. They don't want to have to play against this operator any longer. Felt like it was a bit of a problem in this third quarter, and I don't hate that either. Team Liquid answer with a 3rd shield ban, so Fuse is itching to join the fray.
No, please no. We're okay, thank you. Appreciate the suggestion, we're all right. I don't know about you, but are your eyes staring down at the lineup for Nip to see if the Fuse will emerge?
I'm looking at Cons. If anybody's going to play it, it's going to be Cons. He had an interview a couple of weeks ago where he basically said, I hate playing shields. I find them really boring and slow, but they're the meta, so I play them. And he's got like a 60% shield pick rate or something this season. So he might not necessarily enjoy the role, but he's damn good at those operators and can play them when he needs to. You see that respect ban being shown by Liquid.
I feel vindicated. No fuse shield. That's what I come here for.
Another roam being held too by Team Liquid. There's a lot of bodies up on these top couple of floors. Resets has been tracked, but Maya and Nesk might be the bigger threats up on the top floor. A nade fails to clear out a castle barricade. That's tough. That happens pretty often sometimes, with that being a really tricky angle to try to find. Resets in no need to leave. I mean, the stock angle is a little bit annoying, but broadly, as long as these castle barricades are up, he's feeling quite comfortable. He knows he's got players above him too to try to hold things down. But that said, as we hit the 2-minute mark, everybody on Team Liquid will hit the site. They'll retreat right back down, happy with the 60 seconds that they've wasted. And the time waste isn't done, as NIP still need to clear this out and make sure there's no lingering roamers hiding in a corner.
Walk in, check if garage is clear, get information, immediately walk out. 500 days since NIP competed on land. That's what's on the line for this team by finishing in the top 4. A lot of pressure, sky-high expectations that you might have set for yourself. Maybe your org has set for you. One big team and one big org will go home today. Right now, money should be on Liquid going home if you're somebody who likes to use your money that way. Not me. Liquid will ride this out. Setup work being done on the main floor by NIP now as we reach the last minute of a round where yet again NIP will sit on match point.
It's going to be chaos when this execute comes through. There's still Goyo canisters in the site, goo mines as well, which will cause panic for any planter in the late round. Contest to decide where he wants to plant. He's currently playing top main, which could imply that he wants to go for a plant just through the ash wall back of armory. Could also still, of course, rotate over towards church, but the dirt player won't find any success. Hates does go down, and it's a man advantage for Team Liquid.
Exactly where they want to be, and Hates as well, who's been a stellar player who can rise to the occasion. Now it's Maya gunning down Fantasy. Pino dies as well, and Team Liquid have themselves a comeback brewing. Yep, with only 2 players left, barging into the bomb site. Team Liquid need a single kill for a flawless round. They won't get it. Resets taken out by Wizard, but that is it. The flawless is broken. Liquid had put back-to-back rounds on the board, and they just might be streaking, Jesse.
That's good clock management on the basement side. Of course, Team Liquid knew that they had to waste time in the early round and also maintain a strong defensive setup in the late round. They did just that. I really like their decision to rotate back at 2 minutes. It wasted so much time, Parker. This round, though, will be the decider in my mind. That's why attack timeout is being called. We are going to head almost for sure to gym and bedroom. NIP are probably praying that we go bar stage because that bomb site has had a horrendous win rate. But those are the only 2 options for Team Liquid. When they went gym bedroom in round 8, it was a very solid win for NIP. They got some early round pressure. Got a little shaky at the end, I'll admit. It did come down to a Pinot 1v1, I suppose. But in the end, it did feel like NIP were in control of that round for a good chunk of it. This is where they need to really sit down and talk about what's going to be coming up for this gym bedroom defense. Last time there was a clash here that will be banned out. Had to deal with a 2-brow and a zombie roam over towards the cast side, which did a lot of damage to their early game. Need to find a way around that. That's what the coach is going to be talking to the boys about, hoping to make sure they can close it out here and now. If we head to overtime, Parker, even if we head to that round 12, that's when things get really scary for NIP. So big hope for NIP fans that the coach, Dan, is able to inspire this team to close it out here and now, because it's not going to get any easier if you can't win this.
No, you're spot on. And again, go back just to reference those numbers. It's so close to a coin flip between these two that it's not like either side has an inherent advantage. Yes, it skews a little bit towards the defenders, which will be a small bit of relief for Team Liquid. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, all you need now at this point of your NIP is a single round. You got 2 more opportunities to do it. If not, we will go to OT yet again. We went there, as you can see in the top right portion of your screen. Went there in map number 1. Liquid just narrowly edging out NIP for a victory. I would love to see an OT here, but either way, it doesn't trouble me at all. Unpredictability was the word that we used to talk about these 2 teams before the matchup began, and I think that word has fit this bout quite well.
Outer mirror window from resets being placed on the jacuzzi wall. This is something Brazil loves to do. They've run this for quite a long time. We do see it in other regions. It's not like it's rare, but Brazil tends to play this by far the most. With these shields on the outer walls, you'll see it on Clubhouse on the CC wall quite often, and now we see it, of course, on jacuzzi. When you don't have a Kaid or a Bandit to keep walls closed, sometimes putting a mirror window there, popping it, and then just threatening the attackers, saying, hey, come try to breach, see what happens. Could be even more effective, but NIP are dealing with it relatively well. They've got a lot of tools to do the job here, both Thermite and the Ace, so it's not going to be too big of an issue for them. Real question is, how hard are they going to commit to clearing the cache extension, right? That's really what went wrong for NIP last time they were here. It does seem like they're going to commit quite heavily, though. Wizard already inside of Rafters. The main breach opened up. The Ace starting to open the wall, but Mute Jammers will stall that, at least for the moment. A lot of pressure on both Maya and Nest to get a kill from this position. If they go down for nothing, then this round will be tough to salvage.
And it's Fantasy looking for something over by red stairs. F-Mark's all done, so whatever information was gained for both of these players is now gone. And Fantasy's repositioned towards a different set of stairs now, the main stairs. That's Asks Azami playing over there. Did he just miss the cross? Did he get siege timing? Does Azami's now found shelter in the bathroom, Jesse?
You know, it's good trigger discipline by Fantasy. He saw him cross, but he didn't have the shot, so he's going to waste his time. I don't think Ask knows the Fantasy is holding him here, so Fantasy will give himself another opportunity.
There's the first pick. Traded back immediately. Hates only gets a single one. You cannot trade at this point. You need to go for broke if you're Team Liquid. Sit and wait, get that next pick, and push Nip into a position where they can make some mistakes. We've seen Nip make mistakes throughout this best of 3, so it's definitely doable. Still playing down below, and another missed opportunity from Fantasy. Out on the window now, 30 seconds remain, and Resets is looking for one over towards construction, but he has to pick his poison. No, he narrowly misses an opportunity, and he's almost out of bullets, chased away, seeking some salvation farther back, dusted off by Wizard. Nip with the advantage, with only 15 seconds to go. A perfect opportunity for Cons to plant the diffuser. The last 3 players from Team Liquid moving in towards the bomb site, closing in on the objective. They trade, with the advantage still favoring Nip, and now the timer will favor them too. Cons shutting out Ask, and to keep Liquid alive, it's the newest member, imported from North America, Diaz, looking for something, finding nothing. Liquid are done. Nip into the top 4.
And for the first time in over 500 days, to steal a stat from Alfama, NIP will be headed back to land. They receive the final South American invitation.